Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Straight Out of BS podcast. Here for you guys with another episode. Today, I have with me my first person that has been to the ceduschool, so this should be interesting. This should be really interesting. Before we get started, I want to do a moment of silence for the person still suffering with drug addiction, anything, intrusive thoughts, anything like that. So on the count of three, I'm going to do a moment of silence. So 1, 2, 3. And thank you for that. And without any further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. So go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went, like what years.
So my name is Kari. I went to CEDU from April 14th, 1994 till June, somewhere in June. I think it was like June 10th or something of 1996. I was only there for 2 years and 2 months, and the program is usually 2.5. But I got a tiny bit lucky with that one.
Okay, so you said, okay. And did you get transported?
No, I did not have to suffer that. I know that is one of the worst parts about it. For some people was that, but like I knew the people that like the company that did it for CEDU. It was like 80% of the kids that were there were they were like taken in the middle of the night, all that, and like the company that did it worked for CEDU. And something about like they were staff members and then they were like bad. And so they started the escort service to like help CEDU get kids there.
Okay.
It was really sketchy. Yeah.
Interesting. So you knew, so did you know that you were going to this school beforehand? Like what was
I was a bad kid. But I mean, like my mom beat me when I was young, and then my dad got custody of me when I was like 12. And he was a pilot, and so we just had a nanny, and he was gone a lot, so I was just kind of allowed to do whatever I wanted for like a year before I got Sound Lake. And it was like I had gotten out of my mother's abuse, and like I had a big house and like a nanny who was just kind of my friend, and was kind of allowed to do whatever I wanted. So like I would like leave my class in 8th grade and like start smoking cigarettes in the hallway, and I don't know why I was that stupid, but yeah, my dad, found CEDU, and he was like, oh, there's this, school it's a boarding school in California I want you to, to look at. And so we went there, and it was, the whole thing with CEDU was like, they would say, you're going to tell your kid you're just going to visit. And what they would do is you would go and you would visit, and while the kids were, the other, like, 2 other, students were showing you around, your parent would leave. And that was
so kind of like a scared straight type thing.
Yeah. It was either you got sent there with escorts, or your parents brought you to the mountain to see the school, and they just left you. So yeah, that was always like when you had to do it to other kids too. When you became an older student, you had to do the same thing to newer students. It sucked. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same kind of overarching thing that the W.W.A.S.P programs or later on down the line that I went to were like.
That's a super interesting thing, is that I'm the first CEDU person that you've talked to, because the big thing about the school, like right when I got there, is when they changed, like when you were there, you were part of 4 families, and they changed it into teams. But
do you remember the name of the families?
It was Pam's family, it used to be Guy Bonanno's family, and then that changed to Russ's family, Martin's family or team, and then there was one other person. But like when I got there, they're like, oh, we just changed it from family to team because, and I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, because family sounds too cultish, and they just left it at that. I'm like, okay, well, why is the first thing that I'm hearing about the school involved cult? You know what I mean? Like, you don't like bring up, oh, because it sounds cult, if you weren't worried about it sounding like a cult. Like, it was definitely like, I knew I was in a cult kind of from day one, like not in a way, like I knew it had been associated with cults very, very, like that was like the first thing I learned about it. And
how did you learn that? How did you learn that about it?
Well, like after I got out, like I had heard, like I did just a tiny bit of research, and it was like, oh, what is a cult? And there's like all the things that make a cult. And I was like, oh, yes, and yes. We didn't fuck anybody, but yes, like all the things that we had to do or like we didn't like worship like a deity or whatever, but like there was the creator, Mel Wasserman. So yeah, we did kind of worship him. But like a big thing was like, oh, this school has been started. It started in the 70s, and like every couple years, a bunch of staff will leave and start another school. And it was like well known that that was a thing. And it was like, but ours is the best one. You know what I mean? Like, this is the first one and this is the best one. And sometimes we would get people from sister schools sent to CEDU, like Cascade was like a kind of sister school. It wasn't affiliated with CEDU, but it was like an offshoot. I had no idea there were this many, and that it was really still going on until like a year ago. But yeah, like we were very, the staff members were like, oh, CEDU's the first, like, I mean, yeah, and they're like, we have the special magic formula, that we can make people better, and that's why there's so many other schools that have copied us, kind of a thing.
Okay, interesting. So let me get this straight. So your parents brought you down there and then left you? Is that what happened?
Yeah. My dad, he brought me to visit the school just to look at it.
Yeah.
And then like I was like, okay, where's my dad? I want to leave. And they're like, oh, he's gone. He's already left. He's already down the mountain. Like he's gone.
Okay, so they didn't even let you like say any sort of goodbye.
Oh no.
They just left. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, because if you have that chance, they might
manipulate. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like there was an entire building. There was a building called the admin building that building had staff members we never saw. They were just there to lie to parents. Like their whole job was to call them and be like, when you have a home visit, your kid's gonna say crazy things, and this is what they're probably gonna say, but you have to know it's all bullshit. Like there was a whole building of people that coordinated the lying to parents so that they didn't believe the kids.
Exactly what they did in the school I went to. So when you got there, what happened after, like right after you got there, what happens after, like when you first get there, your first 3 days? What happens?
They just tell you the rules. There were so many rules. I didn't really look up your school. I don't know how close yours. I've seen like that movie about the Alon school. The last stop I saw that movie. It seems like they're a lot like CEDU, but there was just, all the rules of like, no sex, no drugs, no violence. You can't put your feet on the furniture. You have to have your shirt tucked in all the time. You have to wear a belt. Like if you're in the beginning, you have to always have your hair up. You can't wear jewelry or makeup or earrings you can't talk to certain people. You can't say certain words. You can't talk about bands. You can't talk about any past, you can't tell war stories about doing drugs. You can't, there's just all the things you can't talk about. Or like, oh, I called somebody a dork, and they're like, oh, you have to cop out to that. I'm like, what's copping out? And they're like, okay, every couple days you have to write down everything all the rules that you've broken. It's called the dirt list. You have to write down everything you did wrong, and you give it to a staff member, and they punish you. Could be whoever, that just depends on what that staff member felt like that day towards you. So you have no idea what would happen. Could be, you have to do dinner dishes, or it could be you have to be on a full-time, which means that you have to sit in the dining room for a couple of weeks or a couple months, not talk to anybody, not touch anybody, not sing, not laugh, not smile, and only talk to the people that you're allowed to, which is a couple, for months. So it just depends, Yeah. Did you have a version of that?
Yeah, a lot of what you're saying, I'm seeing a lot of similarities and crossover to the program I was in.
Using lingo, and I'm like, you don't know the lingo. You had a different school, so I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to know what
it's the same. It's different lingo, but it's like the same meaning.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the things are very similar. Like having your shirt tucked in, like not telling war stories, like everything that you were saying, like.
Did you have version of bands where like you weren't allowed to talk to like certain kids because?
Yeah, well, in the place I went, we had points and levels. So you got there at level 1, and you had to work up to level 6 to graduate. And but every day you would get consequenced, and every single rule had a different like level of consequence. So like if you like broke separation and was like looking at a girl, you could get a category 4, and there's 5 categories. So with a category 4, you go back to level 1, 0 points, lose all your points. So any levels that you had, you don't have them anymore.
So what was the longest that you knew of somebody being there? So that means that they could just make you stay indefinitely.
Oh yeah, as long as they want to. I mean, and if they just don't like you, they can consequence you for stuff, like just for not liking you. There's a lot of favorites played. The longest that I've heard anybody, like, so far being on the podcast and through everybody that I knew, I mean, honestly, I hate to say it, but I think like 6 or 7 years, maybe 8. Like, I'm not like there's
That
yeah.
is so much worse than what I went through. Like, holy fuck, that's so much worse.
I mean,
It's like
but
your
see,
entire childhood.
well, yeah, pretty much, yeah. And there's
And
a
then
lot of people. There's a lot of people that it actually formed. They actually wanted to stay in the end. You know, they
oh
came
no,
back to because that's what they felt comfortable in.
holy,
So yeah, there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of overlap.
like
So it's crazy.
the longest that we had, like I knew somebody that was there for like 3.5 years, and that was like we felt for him, but it was only because he was in the middle school first and then got transferred to the high school. So yeah, he was there for like 3.5 years, and that was like holy shit, like that's forever. But fuck, man, that's a long time.
They,
But
they they tell parents that if they're really good and they follow all the rules and don't do anything wrong, they can be out of here within like a year. But that's, I mean, nah. I was out of there and I was there 22 months.
wow,
But then again, you know, I fucked off for the first year. I was like, I don't want to be here. Like, screw this place. Like, I was getting removed every day. They threatened me with, they were going to send me to Tranquility Bay in Jamaica where they don't have child protection laws. And yeah, they said, we'll just send you there and tell your parents after we sent you there.
holy shit. And they probably
So it's like, okay.
your parents signed your rights over to them,
Yeah,
right?
when you let your children into these places and teenagers, you know, you're signing away all your rights.
Yeah.
Like literally all your rights. So when you got there, after you got accustomed to the rules and whatnot, what's the overarching structure of that program? How do you graduate per se? Like,
So mine was different. My mom died after I'd been there for a month. So I had to. So like they brought me into an office and they're like, "Hey, your mom just got into a car accident. We're gonna send you home while she's still alive," which basically meant I was gonna just say hello to her when she was in a coma. And while I did this, I was on bans for my entire family and friends. So like I had to go with a staff member to the hospital hospital at Yale, Connecticut, see my grandparents, everybody I knew, had to pretend they didn't exist, walk up and see my mother basically dead, like kind of talk to her for 10 minutes. I got in trouble because I talked to my aunt while this was happening. Got sent back to CEDU. She died the day I was there. A couple days later, that same staff member brought me back to Long Island so I could go to the funeral. Was not allowed to talk to anybody at the funeral. Was in trouble because I held hands with my mother's like basically husband, my mother's like boyfriend of like 15 years. I held his hand the entire time, and like I wasn't allowed to go to the reception. Obviously, like I saw her be buried in the ground and had to immediately go back to CEDU. And then for the next 2 years, like people were like, "Oh, all we hear about you was that your mom died." So my experience was very different just for that sole reason. Um,
okay.
but so
Interesting how they handled that whole
they handled it
situation.
so horribly that there was one staff member there named Dennis Dockstetter who was a god. Like I mean that in the best way. I'm a complete atheist. He ran a music camp. His name is Dennis Dockstetter. He had a music camp that was on the mountain in Lake Arrowhead. And when CEDU moved onto the mountain in the 70s, he started working for them. And I think in a more of like a musical advisor kind of a way. He got more involved in how crazy it was, but everyone knew that he was only there just to make sure that people really weren't fucking totally losing their shit. Like he was one of the only good people there, that he never did anything fucked up to any of the kids. I swear to God, I know for a fact he never did, because like I've seen his soul and it is pure. But like he was one of the only people that like were really always made sure that like things weren't too bad. But what he told me after was that, you know, when your mom died, like everyone was like, "Oh, we're gonna lose this one. Like we could have gotten to her." And I didn't, though. Like the reason the fact that my dad was even allowed to keep me there was kind of messed up. Because like I didn't grieve with my siblings. Like I've never grieved with my mother dying, with my little brother and sister. So it's just, like me and my brother and sister still have like a weird relationship because of that. Like, so yeah, like I've never like held my sister and cried about our mom dying, because by the time that I saw them, it was a couple years after it happened. So that was weird. But so what you were asking was the, like, how the school worked. Um, so when you got there, you were in Discovery. So there were different levels. There was Discovery, Quest, Challenge, New Horizons, and Verizon or Summit. It used to be called Verizons and it became Summit, I think. We didn't have, once you got there, like the people that you got there within like about a 5-6 month area, that was your peer group.
Lilith.
And you graduated with them. So like the people that got there a couple months before and after me, that's like who I went through the whole program with. And it was a 2.5-year program. You were also assigned a family or a team, it became, and there were 4 teams. So like there was 100 kids at the school at a time. And so you became super, super close with like a really good amount of them. Like there were maybe like 25 kids that I didn't know 100%, but like because there was 100 people there all the time, and I was there for 2.5 years, and there's people coming and going. Like I know about 1,000 people from there, and maybe not that much, but I mean it's got to be at least 600 or something. Like just my Facebook friends alone, I mean there's like hundreds of CEDU friends. And like be somebody that was just there a couple of weeks, or like somebody that I like was a roommate with for a year. But oh god, I'm just babbling. So the thing that we had that was the craziest was the profits, or like the 24-hour emotional growth workshops. Did you have anything like that?
Yeah, we had something very similar. We had seminars. We had self-improvement seminars is what they call them.
Yeah, so that's ours they were called profits. And so the big thing about that I wanted to talk to you about was that all of that is based in est and synonym. And do you know about those things? So
yeah, but go ahead and explain it.
So est was like a kind of like there's a couple of things that are involved, but they're between like est and like attack therapy and like primal scream. So there was a guy named Mel Wasserman who was like our leader, and he was a rich guy that like saw a bunch of hippies and like wanted to help them, I guess. And he was I think he was in Synanon already. And so he just took everything he could from every fucked up mental health, like self-help thing that was going on at the time, and made CEDU. And the thing is that there are still people that talk about CEDU like it should be a religion, and that it still probably is their religion. And it's hard because what the school was based on and what it taught was amazing. And I can't help but still use a lot of what I learned and like the things they taught, because basically they just taught you what emotions are and how, like when you're old and you're like, oh, if I only knew what I knew now then. They gave us at 14 and 15. So like you can't, like what they gave us was amazing, but the way that they did it was completely horrible in a way that I've only realized like a month ago. I don't even remember anything that happened before that was traumatic. Like my dad's like, don't you remember when your mom beat you and did this and this and this to you? I'm like, that's all brand new to me. I don't remember a fucking thing about those things because CEDU erased it. Like everything that happened there was so bad that I don't remember what happened before. So sorry. Yeah, I'm babbling.
You're okay. You're okay. So you had these profits, and they were essentially like seminars.
Yeah, I actually fucking found my scrapbook of oh, there's a cat right here. And it's already taken apart because you see it?
Yeah.
And then here's all the rules.
So is it just like a big group of people that get together and they go through this, or how does it?
Yeah, it was really hippie, and the thing is, it was pleasurable. It was fun. They made sure it was fun. Then it was really, really hard. Like, when you're there in the beginning, you're on work assignments all day. Like, you're chopping down trees and like digging holes. I had to dig a hole for my cat to be buried in a couple years ago. My boyfriend could not believe how well I could dig a hole because he took video of it because he's like, I don't know what you've done in the past that you can dig a hole that fast and that well. And it was only because at CEDU we had to do so much manual labor that it wasn't even needed. Like sometimes they'd be like, okay, you're gonna dig this huge hole. Okay, just fill it up. We just needed something for you to do so that you could, it was completely pointless. But yeah, there was all the staff members that were there. None of them were trained at all. If you had gone to CEDU and you had graduated and like later on you wanted to be staff member, you were basically like head of a family. Like that's who Russ Decker was. He went to CEDU and then like 15 years later came back and like he gave him a family. Like he was a family head. He was in charge of like 30 kids whole life. Like he was, they're like God. Like if he said to you, you have to fucking do anything, you had to do it. Like I mean, your parents too. But yeah, it was. How many people were at yours?
When I got there, shit, I want to say like 300 to 500. I can't remember exactly because my memory is a bit shaky on it, but I think when I got there, probably around 300.
What?
Yeah.
Wait. And were you like locked up in yours? Was there like jail cells or was it like dorms?
The way it was at my place was there was magnets on the doors and there was key cards. So like, and anywhere that you went, you had to walk in line in sync with the person in front of you. You couldn't look out of line. You had to. It was very military boot camp-ish.
Fuck, man, yours was so much worse.
I don't know
Oh
about that.
man.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think they're just as bad, but in different ways. Because if you think about it, the physical labor, why do you think they're doing that? Probably to break down your
Oh
spirit,
yeah,
right?
no, they broke us. Like they broke us 15 times by the time we were there for a year. I mean, it wasn't like, but like it was emotionally, and it was never like, and that was the tricky thing was like, there was no locks on any doors except for the doors where the phone was, or like the doors to get, like, but there wasn't like there was no, like you could walk out and leave, like there wasn't a lock on the door for anything. Except for to like, the phones to call home or like, but you were at the top of a mountain and like a payphone was a 10-mile walk or not, no, it was like 2-mile walk to just a payphone, but you didn't have change, like you didn't have money on you, but it was, that's why it's really tricky. Like there are people there that were so into CEDU and like they were so loved and they had such a good experience because they were probably fucking losers. I don't want to be like, oh, but like very unlikable people when they were at CEDU got the love they never would have had and still to this day are praising it like hell because they're just dicks and just can't be in the real world anyway. And that CEDU was a place that harbored people like that and like because we had to accept what, like, you got there and you would just tell everything you had ever done. Like it was called the disclosure. You just like, and every sexual thing you did, every bad thought you did, like, and then you find out about your fucking neighbor and about your roommate and like somebody you're going to graduate with it, like they did something horrible. And like I know horrible things about these people, like that, like if I repeated to you, you just wouldn't believe. But like, and I had to be friends with them for 2.5 years, because that was the like, and there was no cancel culture yet. But like, one of the staff members famously would tell fucking kids that he set a homeless person on fire, and like he was still in charge of you. Like it was really that was a really, I mean, you had to, but then like to work on it, you had to do work, and that was basically like you had to go into a rap, which is like our group therapy. It was 3 hours long, and there were 3 times a week. and you would just scream at the floor, like ridiculous things, like you would just scream, like cry, and then you'd scream, and people would pour like all these like tissues on the floor, and you'd basically like let your entire sinuses go onto the floor while you screamed about whatever you were upset about. I did it basically once or twice, like because if I didn't, I would still be on a full, like, because they had put me in a cafeteria room like for 3 weeks without smiling, laughing, singing, or talking to anybody. And yeah, that was, and to do work, which means just sit, scream at the floor and cry. That was the only way I was going to get off of it, basically. I knew, so that I had to do it. But I mean, you would see people that got really into it and they got something out of it, but like, I just couldn't really get into it. But people, I mean, I remember people doing it, and I remember, okay, they're just doing this so that they can get farther in the program, because if you didn't do it, you know, like it was just like a part of the thing. But like, there were people that were just like, they would go into a rap and just start crying and rocking back and forth, and they just go, oh, I hate my mom, I fucking know it. Like, they just start screaming at the floor, crying, like throwing up their emotions. And then like, you know, and then another person would just like start doing it, and like you just be like, this is my first day. This happened. I like walked into this rap, and like all these people are just screaming at the floor, crying, snot coming out of them, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is fucking ridiculous. And I walked out, and then later that day, at night, they would have all around the house where it's like a school meeting, like, okay, this is what's going on tonight. We're gonna have dinner or whatever. This, you know. And they're like, okay, and like, and the main staff, Bill Valentine, the guy who was in charge of everybody, he like Mel Wasserman. I don't know if he was dead or like, I don't even know. We never saw him, but Bill Valentine was like basically our, you know, our leader. But he had the all around the house, and he was like, we've been having a lot of swinging doors and raps. And it took me fucking 10 years later to be like, oh, he was just talking about me. But like, he had to do it in front of the whole fucking school for to get to me. And because I was the, like, yeah, I don't know. It was my first couple of days. Yeah, you just learn like you can't. You're never gonna fucking be alone ever again. Like, you're never, like, if you have to walk to the dorm to get something, somebody basically goes with you. You're never alone. I don't really even still to this day know why that was. Like, if you got to spend time alone, it was kind of a big deal, and there had to be a reason for it. You had a big sister when you got there. You had a big sister, which is basically, you know, like a, you know, hired best friend, and then you had a dorm head. There's 4 people in a dorm, and like somebody that had been there for about a year and a half was your dorm head, and like he was kind of in charge of you there. You kind of had to do what they said, even though they were just, you know, other students. But yeah, we didn't have like a thing where you had to do a certain thing and then you got to move on. Like, everybody kind of got moved on. But then if they didn't think that you were buying it, like if they thought that you were just kind of coasting by, they would send you to Ascent. Do you know what Ascent is yet?
No.
Holy shit.
Is it like their? Is it? I assume it's their form of wilderness, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we had wilderness trips. This is my wilderness challenge plaque. This is my proof that I completed a wilderness challenge. It was in Joshua Tree. It was 14 days long. In 1995. Yeah, like we had to do wilderness things. Like, there was one time where they only did it to my group for some reason, where they woke us up at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and just my group, we weren't allowed to talk to each other. They put us in a van. They drove us to the bottom of a different mountain than ours, which was a couple hours away, all in silence. We weren't allowed to talk to each other. We walked up a mountain. By the time that we got to the top, the sun rose, and then we were allowed to talk to each other. And then we walked down the mountain, and that was it. I don't even remember what it was called. Like, I don't even know what the fucking point to it was, but I know that like 8 of us hallucinated a miniature village, and we all talked about it when we walked down the mountain. But we all hallucinated the exact same thing. But what was I talking about? I'm sorry.
Talking about the wilderness trips.
Yeah, so the wilderness. So there was wilderness. There was one short one that wasn't that often. I can't remember what it was called. Wilderness Discovery. No, that wasn't it. There was one that was 3 days long. Then there was one that was 5 and 5. I think it was just 5. And there was one that was 14, and that was Wilderness Challenge. And the 14-day one was the Motherlode one. It was like when you got there, they're like, oh, you're gonna have to do Wilderness Challenge, and it's gonna suck. And it's in Joshua Tree, and it's 2 weeks long, and like. It was a 3-day solo where for 3 fucking days, I was 15 at the time. You're in a spot like, 5 by 5 feet, like, and you can't move. You're just there, and like you're alone for 3 days in the fucking desert. And I am extremely afraid of spiders, and I was so afraid that I was going to see a tarantula and fucking kill myself or something because I'm so afraid of them. But thank fucking Ricky Gervais, I did not see a fucking single spider. But that was hard. But and then at the end of that one, you have to run 7 miles, I think. And like, so you'd been in the desert for 14 days and carrying a pack that was like 40 pounds, and then you have to run 7 miles, and you're expected to not stop at all.
So you can't stop. Do they give you water?
Oh, not. I think that no. They didn't, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, you can't really. What? No, they didn't give you water. I was dead last by like a fucking hour or something. Like I wasn't even dead last. Like they were packed vans already. Like they were just like, all right, when is she coming? Like, and because I was just they're like, you have to run the whole time. And I had basically jogged 14 miles because that was the only way I could do it. Like, you kind of pretend like you look like you're like running kind of, but you're basically at a walking pace. That it's a thing I had learned like after being there for about a year and a half how to do because we did so much running. There's been many times that I have seen CEDU alumni on TV or in person and just recognized them. I'm like, oh my God, I know that person because I recognize the way they ran. I was in a Philadelphia train station and my friend, I guess I shouldn't say names, but a friend of mine saw me, ran up to me, and he goes, Kari Bun, I recognize you from across the train station, just from the back of you, by the way you ran. I recognize a friend of mine from the way she ran on a TV show when she was on a reality show. Like, it's crazy how much running we had to do. But yeah, so 7 miles of running, and then I had just given up. I was like, I couldn't do it anymore. And I just started walking, and then I saw my friend. I saw him and I was like, oh, he just saw me walking too. Like I had just given up and I saw him and he ran with me the last like, I don't know, minute or two. Because then he like walked up to make sure that I was like, okay, because that's how long it had been. But yeah, we had that was the most, but if you were in the program and they didn't think that you were buying it, like if you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing our school wasn't run by the staff. The staff could have left for a fucking week and it would have been fine because the school was run by the kids because they set it up so that's why ours was truly a cult. Like there could have been other schools they might have just done really fucked up things too that were flat out abusive. Like Provo Canyon was just flat out abuse. That was where they would threaten us. They're like, if you're bad and we're just going to send you to Provo, and they don't fucking care about you there. It's like a mental institution there. Like that's where they threw Paris after she got kicked out of CEDU. When I visited CEDU, I went to my friend Dennis, the one staff member that was good. I visited alumni there, and on the way up the mountain, he was like, there's this girl that just got here, and everyone that's the staff thinks that you look just like her and that she acts just the way you did. Her name is Paris, and can you be her big sister for the week that you're visiting?
Wow.
And like a couple years after that happened, I like see her on the side of a fucking bus, and I'm like, Paris is gonna be famous? What? It's funny to have sympathy for like the worst human. I mean, she's not like the worst human, but she's close. But the school's fully run by the kids, and like because there were so many things that were pleasurable about it, like they made sure that we had fun there, like so like when the parents would visit and we wouldn't be like they would see that we had friends, and like there had been pictures taken that we were in where we were smiling, and you know what I mean, like that we got to see a movie every Sunday, or like just certain things that would happen that, would prove that we were okay. And, but then, like, the stuff that was so bad was just so bad that if we had tried to tell them, they wouldn't believe us. And then there's that building, the admin building, of where they told basically that just hired to tell the parents whatever they needed to tell them, so they keep their kid there. But like the stuff that like we had to do was just so fucking crazy that we couldn't really explain it. Like, how do you fucking tell? Like, I always just tell people about the Imagine Prophet because that's the easiest one to tell. Because, like, how do you, like, there was one that I Want to Live where they were playing the Rocky theme over and over again. The da na 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 na. There was like 5 people on my back, and I was like on my hands and knees, and they were putting all their weight on my back. And I had to push myself up while they put all their weight on my back, and I had to fight for my life. And there were signs everywhere that said Friday night at the fights, and I had to pretend it was like a boxing club or whatever. And they like put all their weight on me, and then all of a sudden, after a year and a half of there was no violence there. Like, you weren't allowed to kick anything in anger ever. Like, if you were mad, you could not physically show it at all, or else you got sent to Ascent, which is the crazy wilderness thing I'll tell you about in a second. But so, and then immediately they put a pillow in front of you, and you were supposed to pound at it with your fist after not being able to hit anything for over a year and a half. So, like, how are you, if you tell somebody that, and that's like, I mean, that's easy to explain, and like, there's so much worse stuff than that. I knew I was just going to be all over the place just telling you a billion things.
You're fine.
Ascent. So Ascent was, if you got sent to Ascent, it was 30 days usually. It was like an Outward Bound kind of, like Scared Straight kind of a thing, where they put you in a teepee and they, make you do like, they make you work really hard, and you have to, like, hike all day and run and, live in the woods kind of a thing.
Do they give you food, or do you have to scavenge?
No, you're never made to scavenge. Not a Ascent. They give you food. I mean, it's gross, but they give you food. Yeah, I don't think they starved you at Ascent. Yeah, no, I don't think they only withheld food like during the works, like, the 24-hour or sometimes the 3 or 5 day things that the emotional growth prophet workshop things or whatever. But they would feed you eventually. But it was part of the control, like, of getting you to feel something, and then that's after you get the reward, it all makes sense, and then they let you sleep, and then things start to make sense after you sleep. Oh God.
But yeah, you were talking about Ascent.
So yeah, Ascent. So Ascent was like, okay, if you're not good and if you don't follow the rules, you're gonna get sent to Ascent. And a lot of times, once you were at Ascent, your peer group, like the people you're supposed to graduate with, and like, okay, I'm out of here June or December of whatever year based on when you get there. Like, you're like, okay, I get to leave in this amount of time. But if you get sent to Ascent and your peer group goes through a prophet, you're not in that peer group anymore. You're there for another 6 months. So that was a big thing. It's like, oh yeah, you could get sent to Ascent and that would suck, but it really, really would suck because you're going to be there for another 6 months. There was a couple times when I was there where, like, a peer group would get so small that there was only like 8 people in it. Usually, like, they want, like, you would get there and a peer group would be about 15 to 18 people. So if enough people left, they would combine peer groups. And that would mean that some people would graduate, and like some of the people that of the small peer group would graduate earlier or later. And there were a couple people that were in my peer group that were supposed to graduate, and then they didn't, and they were in my peer group. That's totally unimportant.
No, you're fine.
Let's see. This is the first coffee. It was called The Truth. And the truth shall set you free was like the big thing that you learned. And the tools from it were I know the tools. The tools were, to the degree you feel your sorrow, the same degree you feel your joy. And that was basically the entire philosophy of CEDU, was that, like, as hard as you cry about your feelings, as hard as you feel something, you feel sad about something, you're going to feel that joy. Well, I'm bipolar, And only now am I realizing that that's like not necessarily always like a good thing for crazy people. But I mean, it is true. Like if you've never had badness in your life, then you become like a shallow person, and you're not I mean, but like, so yeah, that was the first thing they taught us was the truth, and it was like, you know, to the degree you feel your sorrow, the same degree you feel your joy, and then you tell every bad thing you've ever done in your life. And it's not necessarily things that you feel bad about, it's just what they make you feel bad about. Like, you really feel bad about kissing somebody? No, but they make you feel bad about it. Like, and then you scream at the floor for the first time and you cry, and then they like let you take a nap at like, I don't know, like noon the next day, maybe, or something. And then they feed you a little, and then like you cry a little more, and then you come down to the house to the rest of the school, and like they play music, and like you're like gliding on a platform to like you're presented to the rest of the school like you just did this big important thing, and they're like, oh, you went through the truth prophet, oh my god, yay. And they're all so proud of you, and like for a week you're like superstar because you just did this huge thing, even though that's like the first thing. But a thing about the school too is like once you do something, anyone that's new that hasn't been through it, you cannot tell them a thing about it. It's like very secretive. So so by the time that you have to do the last thing, there's so many rumors about it. Like I thought that I was gonna have to be naked in front of all my friends, or like we had heard just crazy things that had happened in the summit, which is 5 days long. They let you sleep, but it's 5 days long. Uh, and mostly that for me involved dressing as Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz. So.
What did you see? Like, what was the craziest thing you saw at Summit? Or heard about?
Well, like basically like I don't know what, I don't even remember why, but like the whole thing was at the end, they gave us characters. They gave us each like a character that like represented the worst parts about us. Like, and mine was I always just wanted to go home. And so they gave me a character of Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz because she just wanted to go home. And so like we had to go to our dorms, and I think we were allowed to go to town too to get costumes for our characters. There was like people from the Wizard of Oz, there's like Popeye or Batman or Superman or like Tina Turner or just random things. Like if you were a slut, then you were Tina Turner and you just sing Private Dancer, or like just certain things like that. So but like so it was called your stretch, and so I had to find a Dorothy costume, and then basically stand up in front of everybody, pretend to be Dorothy, and then basically I figured out that if I started singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I would get the prize. Like I would have finished. And when I started singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, everyone lifted me up in the sky and played I don't even remember what song it was. It played some song, and I crowd surfed for the first and never the last time. They put me up in the sky. Everyone carried me around and like floated me in this and they had signs over my head. Like it was like I still to this day, like I can't think of the time that I felt happier. But they like everyone lifts you up, and like for like 3 minutes you're like just in the sky, and then you finished, and like but they do that to everybody. So I saw everybody else do that too.
This is crazy as fuck right now because
Did you have a similar thing?
What you're describing with the stretch and the fucking crowd surf shit. Okay, in the program I'm in, the final graduation is a crowd surf, and you're blindfolded the entire day. You're blindfolded the entire day, and then at the end of the day, you fall back, and then everybody from the facility crowd surfs you till the end, to the end or whatever. And then when you're at the end, they get to circle you.
From that.
They get to circle.
That is the trust fall, but like that's everybody do it though.
I graduated from the program, so I got to experience things that a lot of people that didn't graduate the program didn't get to experience, and a lot of the people unfortunately get stuck on the lower levels for whatever reason. But at the very end, they crowd surfed you, and then the third seminar that you go through is called Focus, and you do something called a stretch, and mine was Living La Vida Loca. Fuck,
So it's totally the same thing. This is definitely
the same thing. It's totally the same thing.
Your school was definitely started by CEDU people. Okay. Yeah, that's so funny. And I didn't even remember the word stretch, because that was the whole thing. It's like you've just stretched so that you become this character that we pick for you. And a lot of times the character actually had nothing to do with the person, which was very confusing for them. Like, they're like, why did you pick me to be fucking Peter Pan? Or like, why did you, like, it just didn't make sense, but like, you just had to pretend whatever. But why did they pick Leland, like, for you to be Ricky Martin? Do you even know? It was just some bullshit.
I don't think they gave a reason. I think in the seminars that they did for us, they just picked it randomly. I think they picked it randomly. Or they kind of just like...
you go through it with? Like, how many people were in your seminar?
I mean, each seminar would vary, but like 100 to 200 people usually in a room. And then they do the same kind of thing. Like your first seminar, like I kind of realized what the thing was, because by the time I started going through my seminars, I kind of had decided to work my program, and I just realized that if I don't get up in front of these people willingly and tell them what I've been through, they're gonna point me out, and they're gonna do it anyways, and it's probably gonna be worse. So I just like was one of the first people to get up. I was like, "Yo, this is what happened to me."
I was the actual first. I was the first person to do it too. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So and then they just make you talk about everything that you've ever done, and then they make you feel super bad for it, and then they have this thing called a release process where it's super similar to the beating the pillow. They literally have you blindfolded, and then they come around to behind everybody, and they wrap these towels in duct tape, like completely, and then they say reach behind you, and then you grab it and you beat the floor. For the first seminar, I think it was like you kind of lose track of time, but I swear first seminar had to have been at least an hour and a half. Second seminar was like 2.5, 3 hours. And then the third seminar was crazy. It was like, I swear it was like 4 hours long, dude.
You were just beating something for that long.
Beating the ground, yeah. And by the time you're done with that, like you
can't even move your arms.
Crazy. Like you feel crazy because like you let go of everything, but it's just they didn't have to do it that way, man. They didn't have to do it that way. That's why
it's confusing. So it's like, oh, but like I wouldn't have experienced that if I didn't have that, right? But like yours was way more obviously punishment and abusive. Like, just the tiny, making you walk in a fucking line and like, magnetic car. And the amount of fucking people, that is insane. Sorry.
Yeah.
What else?
I was actually one of the last people to graduate from the place I went to before it was shut down due to child abuse.
That's what I saw your first thing. Yeah, that's really interesting too. Yeah, and while I was there, my older brother got sent to a sister school, RMA, Rocky Mountain Academy, and he was there, and then he got sent to Northwest Academy too, and then he got pulled out. But then there was like a riot there because it was like a brand new school. And all the staff basically were new. So that was going to tell you about the staff. If you like, had a degree in child education or teaching or anything, that's great. But if you get there, you're the lowest level of staff member. And basically the kids that are getting there at that same time, that's your peer group, basically, if you're a staff. So you'll be like 30 years old and you'll be working that 2.5-year program with 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. And so there were like, I think there was just a couple. I can just think of two. Oh no, there was three. I think there was 3 staff members that were kind of in my peer group, and I love them. They could do. They might have done messed up things after. I will always love these 3 people, especially the one that played guitar. I will always love her. But yeah, like, so when if you were a staff and you got there and you went through the program, that means that like, you're an adult and you're telling little kids the worst things that you've done in your life, so you would hear staff members do horrible, I don't even remember a lot of them, but I just remember like if you hear people talk about CEDU, everyone will talk about basically Russ Decker he set a homeless person on fire, raped some women and stuff like that, like did horrible stuff, and would tell his family, like his team members, like about it. Yeah, but
So they weren't doing any sort of background check for any of the staff there at all.
I mean, I don't think so. No. Yeah, no, and like there was no staff members that like didn't have to go through that. Like even I think that the nurse that like gave out the meds upstairs didn't have to go through the program. And like there was like a lady who you would sometimes find smoking cigarettes, like hiding in this one corner of like of the woods. And she like had the little store that where you could buy like shampoo. Like she didn't have to go through the program, but everybody else did. Like all staff members had to. Oh, and like the cooks didn't have to. But like yeah, like even the people in the admin building, like I'm pretty sure that they had to go through the program. Um, but yeah, like that was the like I don't know if it was like they put us through such crazy stuff so that if we ever talked about it, nobody would ever fucking believe us. And like because that's one of the harder things. It's like how do you like the things that they were so intense and so crazy, and it's like how do you tell somebody about that? And so the one that I always tell people about is the Imagine. So there was one that it was like the last prophet before you had to start going through workshops. So the prophets were only like you went in at night and it was like a big deal. Like everyone knew if a peer group was going to go through a prophet, and it was like okay, all these people, we're going to watch them. They're going to go into this room and they're going to be there until this time again the next day. So that means that you had been awake all day, and then when it's about time to go to sleep, that's when this whole big thing starts, right? So you're already like about to go to sleep. So then like, you're in this room and there's like two staff members. Usually it's one that's like a family, like a very important staff member. There was like 4 to 6 of them about. And then like one that maybe wasn't like maybe that had been then one that had definitely been through the whole program but wasn't like a major staff member usually. And then there was usually some other staff member like behind the scenes with like doing like backstage stuff to make sure that things happen. And like they would do things like it would always involve like writing a dirt list, which is like writing like if you did anything bad recently. And then that was always the opportunity to start copping out to stuff that maybe you hadn't yet and you wouldn't get in trouble for not copping out to it. Like they would, and I mean maybe you probably no, I'm lying, you would get in trouble for it, but it was like I heard some fucking crazy shit at one that like I can't even repeat anything about because he'll know that I'm talking about him. But like you'd hear this one time I heard just the most insane things that I've ever heard, and like involving fucking animals, and it's like holy like, and it had just happened, like it just happened, and now we don't have a farm anymore. Like it's so like and like I mean just crazy stuff, and like I don't think anything bad really happened after that. He told about it too, like, but like you just stuff you don't need to know about people, like, but like it was all forgivable, like somehow. Like there was a guy that had raped a girl, like he was there and like everyone knew that he had raped a girl. I mean he felt kind of bad about it. I don't even think he really did. I think he was just like, this is all my friends were doing it, so whatever. It was like a bunch of guys that just like raped this girl. um and like there were times where like girls would bring him into raps. Okay, so raps were 3 times a week. And there was a box in the house, the main building that we like would all congregate in. It was called the house. It was CEDU was just basically a big log cabin with a bunch of other cabins. Like basically it could have been like a ski lodge. I think it might have actually been at one point. But so it was like just a big room with a fireplace and a bunch of couches. It would have been perfect for an orgy. But it was like couches and like one big huge couch around the fireplace. But so like all the meetings were called all around the house, like all around the house, which meant all around the fireplace because it was just all big semicircle. But fuck, what was I talking about? What was I talking about?
You were talking about you were talking about the raps.
Oh, okay. So there was a box that was a replica of the building, of the like the cabin, the like the house. and it had a slot in it. It was you would have, every time that there was a rap, which was 3 times a week, you had to like take a piece of paper and write somebody's name down and then write your name down, and that would mean that you requested them to be in your rap. So and then like, so if you had any beef with somebody, or you just had to do it anyway, because even if you didn't have problems, or if you weren't mad at somebody, or if you would just make shit up, because if you didn't, people would start fucking with you and like be like, why aren't you working on this, or why haven't you done this, or you're lying about this, because if you're not already doing something, they're gonna get to you, because if you could not just skate by at all, like not at all.
What happens if you skate by? Well, we'll get into
like,
after you talk about the raps, because I want to finish. I want you to finish your thought on the raps.
oh, I can't. There's just so many. So, but so yeah, so that you had to like, you just had to always like talk. You always had to like, if you okay. Oh, so this is what it is. If you saw that somebody was doing something bad, you had to say something every fucking time. So it became a thing where you just always were pointing shit out. Like, so like if that's what the school totally policed itself. The staff could have left for a week and like the school would have run exactly the same. So like, because the older students, they were okay, so if you're an older student, you were a dorm head, so that means there were 3 kids that were under your care, basically, like you were their mom. And you were in charge of them, like you made sure that like they left the dorm on time, and like, and that they came back, and like you checked all their chores, and you were in charge of a bunch of stuff that they did. And then you were probably in a committee that took care of something, like you were in the house committee, which meant that every day you made sure that the house looked a certain way, and that there were certain things going on that to make that things run smoothly. Or you were on the dinner dishes committee, which meant that you were in charge of making sure that, dinner like worked a certain way, and that everything went smoothly. Like, staff didn't do anything. They just like kind of made sure that we did what we were supposed to do to make sure that the school ran. So there was even like, if you I would be doing my laundry and a girl started singing Pets by Porno for Pyros or Jane's Addiction. I forget which. No, it's Porno for Pyros. And I'm like, oh, you just popped off, which means you just sang an inappropriate song. There was like only a couple, like there's like a handful of artists we were allowed to talk about and listen to. And so I was like, oh, you just popped off. And she was like, oh. I'm like, you have to cop out to that. So like I had to kind of make sure that she like fessed up to doing that, or else I would be in trouble. Do you know what I mean? So like I had to, and because I had said something right then, I was off the hook. Like, oh, you have to cop out to that. And she's like, oh, okay, I will. So I was okay. But then there was one time I was talking to another guy, and he's like, he mentioned the Melvins, like this band, the Melvins, one of the greatest bands ever. And I didn't say anything. Like I didn't correct him. So I had to bring him to a rap and say, hey, Ben, just Ben could be anybody. I'm like, you said Melvins to me. But it was like, he was actually responding to something. I was talking about a local band called Those Melvins, because you were allowed to talk about local bands. And he was also from where I'm from. Fuck, I just kind of get whatever. He was like, oh, I didn't mean to. I was just saying that I'd heard of Melvins, not Those Melvins. I'm like, yeah, but like you can't do that. But I didn't correct you. I didn't, tell you. So that's why I have to do this now. And I felt super bad about it. He was just, we were just having a conversation. I had just gotten him in trouble because I didn't say something at the time to make sure that he had copped out to it. This is like the stupidest, easiest level of like, but everything. Okay, so there was one time where there's the Imagine Profit, and basically the entire Imagine Profit is they scream at you. You'd been there for 2 years. It's the last workshop, and they play John Lennon's Imagine the entire fucking time. Full blast volume for over a fucking day. I had to hear like over and over, to the point where if I hear one note for that song, it's like the fucking guy in Clockwork Orange, and I go fucking nuts. I cannot hear that song. It's like that for all of us. None of us can hear it. Imagine by John Lennon. But at the end, they show you a picture of yourself when you're a little kid, and they tell you, this is who you are, this is your soul, and you immediately start bawling, crying. And my best friend who I went through the program with, he, after I'd been through the Imagine Prophet, he told me that he was just that during that part, he was only crying because John Lennon died, because John Lennon held him when he was a baby. And so he told me that he was only crying because John Lennon died. I'm like, oh my God, you have to cop out to that. Like, you have to be, I'm like, that's a huge deal that you didn't like do the program right. Like, you have to cop out to that. And I'm like, and if you don't, I'm in trouble for hearing that. And he's like, oh, no. And I only know later because I figured it out. He's like, no. I told them about it. They know. But I know he didn't. Because I was about to make it so he was in a whole lot of trouble because like he had just told me the truth. He's like, oh, I didn't cry about, being sad about the program thing. I was crying just about John Lennon dying. And like, that was like that could have been a really big deal. But we had to fucking rat on each other constantly to the point, like that was the whole program, was basically us ratting on each other. So that's why ours was a cult. Like, they could have done bad things to us or whatever, but like, because they made us police ourselves in a way that was really messed up, I think that's what like defines that we and then I would still go back. Like, I went back as an alumni multiple fucking times. Like, I at least 3 times I went back. One time I went back to visit, to go while my friends were in a workshop, so that like while they were going through the crazy crying emotional things that were going on for days, they could see my face at the end, and I could like be like, hey, whatever, like, I mean, it's so fucked up, but like I could, because I still didn't get like how bad it was, because ours was so happy too. Like, they gave us so much good stuff that it's so hard to realize how bad it was. So like with others, it's like, man, you knew you had it bad. Like, yours was just like abusive and really fucked up. Like, and like, I'm sure it was totally culty because it came from ours, but like if, I don't know if you've seen Adam Egan's podcast that he did with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Like, cause like at the end, like I knew Adam. Adam was a good friend of mine. Like at the end, you see Joe Rogan ask Adam, like he's like so like what did you think? He's like well, some days I would totally go back. Like, I would do it all over again. And that's just because like they there were good parts of it, and that like they had to make parts of it good, because to the degree you feel your sorrow, the same degree you feel your joy. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, they gave us tools to live our life by, but like it was really, really fucked up. The whole way they did it was so fucked up. I'm just like, I cannot believe that you were there with so many people. It's the most insane thing to me. I'm sorry, I'll shut up for a minute.
But yeah, wait, so there's 4 was it workshops that was like the Imagine workshop? Is that?
There was the truth. Okay, hold on, I'll tell you. The truth, the children's was the second one. And it was just all about like your inner child, and like you would just sit there and scream like, mommy made me this, daddy made me this, like mommy made me feel sad, or she made, whatever. Like, there was one time that I talk about all the time where one girl didn't really get the assignment, and she just kept on screaming something really bad over and over again. It was just super funny. Um, uh, uh, and I went through it again. I did it with a second peer group. I did it with a second group of kids, because then I knew that I'd get like good points. Like, they would be like, oh, you're a good older student, we'll give you more privileges to do things because you're contributing more to making the school better. Yeah, it's like, oh, that was another big thing. Like, when you got there, you got nothing. You couldn't wear like a bunch of, and then like by the time you get to the quest, which is the second level, you can like wear earrings. You don't have to, for girls, you don't have to always have your hair up. And then like, then you can like call, I think you can write your brothers and sisters in quest after the brothers prophet. And then, just get so okay, wilderness discovery. This was the first wilderness thing, and then after it, you're in quest, which was the second level. And then okay, the third prophet we had was the Brother's Keeper. And it's all about like being a friend to people, and it's just about friendships. I mean, it's a good one. It wasn't like, the harder the truth to tell, the truer that the friend who tells it. No man is an island, like you can never be alone. Without friends, there is no meaning. The essence of friendship is total trust. Those are like the tools, like every prophet, they would there was like a list of things that like were the theme, like of just tools, I don't know, like fucking scripture, I guess. And then this is, it's a personal letter. And then this, the I Want to Live. This was the one where we had to pound pillows and they like did the Friday night of the fights. And whose face is in the pillow? Do you see that? Let's see. But yeah, that was the I Want to Live. And then the Wilderness Challenge was the crazy. That was the 14-day one. That you have the 3-day solo. And then there's the Dreams Prophet. I'm trying to show like that much because I don't know if it says names and stuff on it. And it's like, it's all about, following your fucking dreams, whatever. Like you remember your childhood dreams. Complete stupid bullshit because it's completely pointless. It's so stupid. Then you have your values. I'm like, where's the name on this? I want to hide it. This is like a scrapbook that like when you graduate, like everyone that's been through that thing can will write you a little, tell you all the things so that you can remember all the fucking shit you went through. And there's the values, and then I don't know if you can read. Like people can pause it if they want, but it's like about what you really about I don't even remember. Like what values are really important to you, some people have issues with certain things, so specific values can be important to you, so, I don't know, whatever. And then what was this? I don't even remember. This is the Imagine. This is for the Imagine. This was the one with the John Lennon song. These are some of the tools for that. Rock bottom was what they called your little kids, when they showed you a picture for they had your parents send a picture of you when you're little. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm I don't think any of that would make sense. And then then there was the I and Me workshop, and there's days 1 and 2, and then this was the I and Me, day 3, and then so the I and Me was a bunch, a whole bunch of weird shit, and then they made us go through a fake funeral where you write your fucking epitaph, whatever. That's a common thing I think along these things where they you make you write a funeral your own.
They had us do that in the during the day where you're blindfolded. Part of that process is they literally had both of your parents write you a letter as if you died, and then you have to read it.
That's fucked up because that's making your parents do that shit too. I mean, they fucking sent you there, so they should, but. Yeah, and then there's the 5 days of the summit. There's summit day 1. And then this is all the fucking stupid shit we had to do at the summit. Oh, can you read that? I never use fucking webcams. So this is the lifeboat where so we
Oh my god, they did the lifeboat too?
Yeah, so so they were okay, there's a lifeboat. Out of all of you, you've been together for 2 years. You've been in the program up to this point. all of you have to pick out 3 people that are going to live, but the rest of you are going to die. So you have to pick basically nothing. I mean, the 3 most popular, I mean, you know, out of your group of friends that you've been through and done all this shit with for 2 years. It was horrible. Like, yeah, I know, like, I don't even remember. I mean, I think I remember one person got picked. But it was like, yeah, was that what yours was too?
Yeah, except for if you in ours, there was like a circle, and then there was like an outer circle, and they would rotate, and then you'd have to look the person in the eye and be like, vote win or live or die, whatever. And then people that voted to live, you had to write yourself a speech, and I could only go for like 10 seconds, and I was like, I don't fucking know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it really breaks down your.
Did they make you stare at each other's eyes like for very, very long? Did you make you stare at each other, people in the eye for a long time? The eye mingle, what they called it.
Yeah, eye contact was a huge thing. You had to look people in the eye.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, and I always was wondering, like, okay, you can't physically look at, 2 eyes cannot physically look at, it's impossible for you to just have one eye on each other. But they never brought up, no, you just look at one eye, like, look at and that's why it's called a mingle, I think is why, because you have to look between both, I don't know. But I used to always bother me, I'm like, hey, am I supposed to look at that eye or that eye? And, like, I just go back between looking at eyes, but, yeah. What else was in the, yeah, you would, love is letting go of fear, forgiveness is my single function, peace of mind is my single goal. And then day 2, out of the darkness into the light. Oh, this is when they have your funeral, and like they did a lot of stuff with music too that was really messed up to the point where like there's a good 15, 25 songs that are out in the world that I just can't hear. Like In a Simple Way, I Love You, and Imagine, of course, good amount of pretty much most of the Beatles I can't listen to. We did a lot of fucked up shit to the Beatles. Yeah, Here Comes the Sun, that was a fucked up one because they would like we would wake up to that. So that like, you know, we'd like they'd go put us to the proud feet and then like you'd wake up to Here Comes the Sun, you know, because it's like, oh, everything's all right, you know, whatever. Like so that was the like I can't hear The Rose by Bette Midler, like at all. And it's so good. Yeah, I can't like there's a good amount of like music that's like People Who Need People by Barbra Streisand song. I can't ever hear that. And I'm a musician, so that's like that sucks.
Yeah.
The music stuff sucks. So sorry.
Okay.
Talk for a minute. But yeah, the music stuff sucks. But the Imagine by John Lennon's one that like always sucked because like I woke up.
It's a beautiful song.
Oh yeah, totally. You know what I mean? So like I don't even remember sometimes what the first lyric is because we heard it so many times. It's so hard to be abused by a fucking song by somebody like that.
Yeah.
And I'm a musician, like, you know, like everyone loves the Beatles. I'm like, I fucking hate the Beatles. Sorry, like, you know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the other ones that are really bad, but a lot of them like you just people don't know that well, but some Barbra Streisand songs, a lot of John Denver songs, but then like they would also like sometimes we'd have dances, like they would, you know, be like, okay, we're gonna have a dance, and they'd play like a couple of Prince songs like right in a row from fucking 1999, and be like, you know, you hear like you know, Baby I'm a Star, and like, you know, and like that one that comes right before or after that. Yeah, 1999 and then Baby I'm a Star, and then they'd play like what was the other ones they would play to dance to? I don't remember. Like fucking they play a lot of Whitney Houston, like I Believe the Children Are Our Future. Like of course they play that all the time. Hero by Mariah Carey. Yeah, so like it's just, you know, like I've been driving my car and like the radio, I've been switching around the radio, and then I'd be like, Imagine starts, and I've almost fucking crashed because it was more important to turn the fucking radio off. Like I've been stirring coffee and not had anything other to do, just drop the coffee so I could have a hand over my ear, like to not hear. Imagine. Did they do that with you? Did they make like music?
No, yeah, they. A big one for me is 2001: A Space Odyssey, because they used to have us. We had to be seated by the time that was done playing. Every single time in the seminars was a big one. Desperado, they ruined Desperado for us.
Wow.
Let's see. I mean, there's a bunch of songs. I just can't think of them right now. But yeah, they've ruined a lot of songs. It's really messed up.
How much was your school? How much did your school cost?
Okay,
to
be sent there for 22 months, they said that I could have had a full ride at Harvard.
Our school was $100. No. Our school was $52,000 a year, and it was a 2.5-year program. So yeah. So like a CEDU education was well over $100,000. Yeah, they called that a CEDU education. Okay, hold on. So then the summit, the day 3 of the summit, here's this. And then that's like when you know, like I don't know, what do they do? I don't fucking remember. Oh, the summit. Okay, they're like, okay, you have to make a statement that you're supposed to hold on to for the rest of your life. And
statement. Yeah.
They give you a key. They give you an old-fashioned key, like a skeleton key. And mine was, I am courageous and responsible. And you write it on a big piece of paper, and they praise you a whole bunch. So it's like, 2 things that you're lack in your, like I was irresponsible and weak. So, that mine was, I'm courageous and responsible. And I did not need to look at that fucking piece of paper to remember those words. And then this was the last day of the summit. Remember I told you I was Dorothy. That's the yellow brick road. And then these were the things that I needed for my costume. I needed a red ruby slippers. I needed Toto in a basket, a bib top, knee-high skirt, a 3-inch bow, lacy socks, and baby curls. And I can't believe you remembered pretty much everything exactly. It's like that's exactly what they wrote for me to need for my costume. And then like like they threw like a party, like all in our costumes, whoever like had a party. And that's when they threw us up in the air, and they I started singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and then everyone lifted me up there, and I don't remember what song they played. It might have been It's Time to Find Your Place in the Sun, or it might have been Here Comes the Sun, or it might have been different for everybody that flew. I mean, everyone had to fly, but it might have been different. And then the graduation summit. And then this is the things that we had to do. Like the song, Fame, they would play the theme song to Fame, Staying Alive by the Bee Gees, Find Your Place in the Sun. Okay, let's see. Oh, I got to go to Washington, D.C. when I was there. I got to go. There was like a couple times where like they would let, like after you're there for a long time, like a year and a half or 2 years, they'd let like special privileges, like you get to go places. I went to Washington, D.C., and a legendary girl that I went with during our trip, she fucking ran away, and it was like, oh. And I only recently found out that she had planned that the day that she got there, and she played the fucking long game and waited almost 2 years to run away early. And then I can't show you this page because this is my peer group. Oh my God, I wonder if it has the guy that fucking we lost and we never saw again. I don't even know if it has his name in it. So what I had told you about, it doesn't have his name. What I told you about was so our school was at the top of a mountain. There was no locks on the doors. And if you got to go into town, there was one little grocery store, like a little general store, and it had a big bulletin board in front. And the only thing that was on this bulletin board was missing kids posters. This was not planned by CEDU. That was real. That was just, there were missing kids posters, and they were all from CEDU. And a good amount of them nobody ever found. And I mean, I don't know how many, but there were definitely, without a doubt, 3 that only really super, like, very, like, today, recently, there's an LA newspaper, or there's an LA, like, something, there's an LA journalist that has been really trying to get answers from the San Bernardino police. And they will not talk about it because they can't answer for the reason there's 3 children that have been missing for a long time. One was a couple years before I was there. One, it's a guy that got there, I guess, after I only been there for a couple of weeks, but I probably wouldn't have remembered because that's around the time my mom died, I think, is when he got there. It was like a little after. So, but apparently he ran away and was never seen from again. We were never told about that. If there were times where I would hear about, that, like, oh, like you would, yeah, if there, like, I would hear later that, like, crazy things had happened at my school, but I was completely unaware of them because they really hid if, like, somebody, like, killed themselves, like, or, like, like, did something really bad, like, we were not it was not made known to us.
Because it would cause panic, probably.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, they just, like, we weren't allowed to gossip, really, like, because of the whole self-police, like, we weren't, yeah, like, I don't know if that was a specific rule, but it was, yeah, like, because basically, like, you weren't allowed to think negatively of anybody, like, with you, and, like, it worked, like, there was a certain point where, like, I did not think a negative thought about anybody I was around at all, like, that's another way I was saying that, like, you would know that people did horrible things, and then you had to accept them like they were your brother, and you did, and that's why that's what I'm trying to explain is that, like, there was a specific person that, like, and I hope that he doesn't watch this, but like, there was a specific person that did something really horrible and, like, confessed it, and like, it involved and, like, a bunch of animals on our farm, and, like, he was seriously one of my best friends at the school, and I'm not, and, like, like, when you're 13 and you hear 14, you hear that stuff, it's like, oh, that person's disgusting. It's like, well, no, I'm a little bit of a perv, I totally understand it now, like, I mean, whatever, you're, like, a frustrated young kid, you got sent to a crazy school, and, like, you want to fuck something, you can fuck something, but, like, like, I don't, like, then, but, like, you would hear, like, because you had to confess the most insane things, and, like, there would even you would even make shit up. Like, there was a girl that called me right after I got out, and she was like, oh, you know how, like, I had an eating disorder? Yeah, that's all bullshit. There was really no reason that I was there. My parents have a lot of money, and, like, they didn't know how to deal with me. So, like, there were tons of education consultants that were paid $1,000 every time they got somebody enrolled at CEDU. So, like, if you're, so, like, if you're an education, so many of us were sent there by education consultants. And then the education consultant would be able to say, oh, I already have other students enrolled there. You know what I mean? What do you want to talk to their parents? You should enroll your kid there too. Like, I got another kid sent to Cascade from my town, to a sister school because of the education consultant that got me sent there. What the fuck was I talking about? Yes, the self-policing was the craziest thing because, like, there were people that were older students. Like, when I got there, there were people that were right about to graduate. So I got there in April. So it was April, May, June, like so I got there, and 2 months later, there was a graduating class. Those people, like, the people that I remember from that class, they're angels in my mind. They were, like, all-knowing people. They were, like, God, they could walk on water. Like, one of them played guitar, and, like, his name was whatever. There was one that played guitar, and he was, like, really good, really, really good at guitar. Like, I would have done anything for him. To this day, probably, if he was like, oh, do you want to start a band and move to Jamaica or Taiwan? I'd be like, I'll do that tomorrow. Yeah, I'll be there. Like, so, like, I mean, these people are, like, you know, like in my mind, they're just heavenly because of, you know, like that, because that's the way that it went. Like the people, you had to respect the fuck out of the people that had been in the program a certain amount of time. And like, because they were also expected to give their knowledge to the younger kids. So that's, and like it worked. And so like, that's what I'm saying. Like the staff barely needed to do anything. Like they just made sure that we did our job. Like they made sure that like we felt bad enough about stuff that we learned whatever, that we were able to run the school for them. So like some of the painful stuff is like, you know, like have like, 'cause you had to be really honest with people. Like there was one time when one of the things were like, I've always wanted to be a singer. You know, I write songs and I sing, I play guitar. And a guy, I remember somebody in my peer group said, I think that your music is just a joke, and I think that you're not going to do anything with it. And like, you know, I don't think you're very good at it. And it like killed me. So to this day, like I still like, I will always remember like the look he gave me. And it's like, and it was like, and it wasn't because it was like, I think it was totally true. And I think he was being 100% honest, that it hurt so bad. But like, you know, or like, there was, you know, a friend of mine who I love her to death. So it's like, she would always bring me into raps and be like, we only know that your mom died. All we know is that, you know, why are you really here? And I was really only there because my dad my dad teaches people not to be afraid of flying. He was in the Air Force and he worked for Pan Am and then United, and he realized that there was no good way of teaching people not to be afraid of flying. So he went to fucking school for it and invented and copyrighted a therapy process that teaches people not to be afraid of flying. So, and he also did EST. He wasn't in Synanon, but he did EST. So he did like this primal scream therapy stuff. So when he heard about CEDU from this education consultant and found out that it was EST derivative, he was like, great. He's like, my kid will get to scream out her feelings. Like he thought that it would be good and like he had done research, and you know, all the testimonials from CEDU were like, you know, that it was fantastic and that, you know, that it was the best. And I can't even tell you how many Rockstar's kids I know super, super well. And like I only recently found out that somebody that I went through the school, like they were fucking, like their dad was pardoned by Trump. Like, so like I think there was like ridiculous amount, like, you know, I knew Paris Hilton there. Like, before I had been there, Barbara Walters' kid had been there, and somebody else, Roseanne Barr's kid went there. And there were like an ex-staff member like pulled a scheme where they went to the mountain to try to kidnap them for ransom at some point. So yeah, it was a ton of like really, really rich kids that were there. And then there were a couple of kids there that were like, you know, there because their church was paying for it, or like there were 2 cases where like an inner city like basically gang member was sent there. And that was really interesting, to say the least. Like, because like the one girl was like, "Oh, I've definitely shot people before. Like, I've definitely done drive-by shootings. I've definitely shot people before." Saying this to a room pretty much 99% white people, besides the like 10 Asian kids that were adopted, because these were all really, really rich kids. For fuck's sake, I'm just talking my ears.
So is EST, is that extreme scream therapy, or what is that?
Oh, is that what it fucking stands for?
Is it? No, I don't know. I made that up. I just made that up.
Extreme straight. I'm like, that's what it fucking stands for. Yeah, so EST is that's what it really stands for. I can't believe that. So yeah, EST is like the game. Have you ever heard of? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I'm
I
familiar,
have a
but
bunch of fucking
yeah.
books on it too. I've like collected so many books on cults and fucking the game and Synanon and EST because I have a book just on EST. It was like an Ayn Rand kind of a thing too. Like you know, do you know what I'm saying if I say that? Like you're your own god kind of a thing. Like but it was I don't, yeah, it's like but it's attack therapy too. Like attack therapy and like yeah, and it's I think a lot of screaming and stuff. But like
Yeah, ours had a lot of attack therapy in it.
And was it staff or students doing it?
Both.
Yeah. So you had to scream at your friends too, right? Because like you had to like go through the process. That was like part of the thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that how all of them are?
I don't know about all of them, but I know that
you talk to mostly.
yeah. Well, there's also religious schools like this that's a whole nother offshoot where they essentially use their religion to justify everything they're doing wrong to the children. And
I find religion filthy and disgusting. And like while I was there, I was super religious. I was one of 2 people allowed to go to church sometimes. I think they just let me because my mom died, like made me feel close to her, and it actually did. Because it was like the only time that I could like kind of cry about her and like do whatever and like kind of think about something that wasn't CEDU, and like it was just super nice. There was like we were a lot of like you had to go to like medical stuff, so that we would have drivers that worked for CEDU, but they didn't have to go through the program. And there was this old man named Milt who would drive people, and he was allowed to take me and this other girl to church on Sundays, and we went for like a while. I don't really know why we were allowed to go. It was kind of like a big deal that we were allowed to go in the first place, because out of 100 kids, only 2 of us figured out that if we said we wanted to go to church, we got to like get off campus and like be in a church and like be with a bunch of old people that knew that we were in a horrible situation and were super nice to us for a couple of hours and like have pancakes and then come back. It was awesome. So like I was religious at CEDU for a little while, to the point where I would make people like not say, I could be like, if people said like Jesus Christ, I'd be like, can you not say that around me? And they had to, because it offended me. So like they had to respect what I said, because it was, I don't know, it was just like a part of the rules of CEDU. Yeah, the self-policing was really fucking weird, that if you knew that something bad was going on, even if it wasn't you and you didn't tell, you were in trouble. Like it's like that now with cops or whatever. Like, I mean, but like that was like a huge part of the school.
they called it withholding where I went. Like you would get the same consequence if you didn't rat them out, then you would get the same consequence they got when they got caught.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that sucked. And I don't. I mean, I've never like whenever like when people like calling it snitches, I'm like, I've never been a not snitcher. I will always snitch for the rest of my life because that's cool. And there's just pages that friends made me, and I think that's like all the main stuff that was in the scrapbook. And then I have this was my you see, there it is.
That's your graduation thing?
Yeah, the graduation thing. It was signed by Bill Valentine. So yeah, you've seen the documentary that Liam did. Liam Sheff, he did like the Welcome to CEDU, and then who was Mel Wasserman and Come Come Work for Us, or like Come or Smushing, and
I don't think I've seen those ones.
Oh, really?
No.
It's the weirdest thing. I'm like, because you said that you're like, you've done this like so many videos. I'm like, how have you not talked to anybody from CEDU? And like,
nobody's come forward. Usually, I don't know. From my experience, maybe people just don't like to talk about it or something. I don't know.
I don't shut up about it ever. My boyfriend, like, I don't even just like if something comes up, I just don't even tell my boyfriend anymore. She's like, yeah, like, and so a really big thing recently happened about CEDU with me, because I had cancer and I had to go into the hospital. And before I went, because I had surgery, and I was like, listen, I was in a bad situation where I was locked. I'm like, if I'm in a hospital and I'm locked up, that means I'm suicidal. Like, I will just say I'm suicidal because I'm locked up. And because if I'm somewhere and I feel like I can't leave, like I did at CEDU, I'm from Connecticut. CEDU was in California. I couldn't I got there when I was 14. So like if I'm in a hospital, there's been times that since CEDU that I'm in a hospital and I fucking try to fight my way out. Like I've broken faces, I've broken many bones of people and don't even remember, because if I'm somewhere and I feel like I can't leave now since CEDU, I will kill you to get out. So I just had, I had just had cancer and I had to have a huge surgery, and at the oncology office, I'm like, okay, so you need to know this. Like, you cannot keep me there longer than I'm supposed to be there. And like, I am going to fight you to try to get out. Like, and I will say that I'm suicidal. And so like, after I was in the hospital for longer than I'm supposed to, and I see somebody from my oncology office to the left of me, and I'm like, I told you this is going to happen. But like, my dad set it up so that I would be there longer so that I would heal. And I almost completely disowned him because all my life since CEDU and since I figured out how, like, it took me a while to figure out it was a cult because, and it started with Facebook, was that like, oh, Jackson, so my best friend there, I'm doing right now, my best friend there, his name is Jackson, and I said, I'm doing it now, my best friend, his name is Jackson. He was like my best friend. He's still my best friend today. And he wants to talk to you next. He's dying to talk about it too, I think.
Okay.
Wait, I'll cover. He said how was it? He gave me a thumbs up and a smile, and we're all so messed up from it. And I think he only really recently realized how much it fucked him up too. But he really wants to talk to you too. But yeah, there was
send him my way. Send him my way.
But yeah, like we met really early on in the program, and like we got along super well, and of course, yeah, we ended up having a relationship afterwards. But like, there was no sex at the school. So there was so much of the time there where we were on bans from each other, where we weren't allowed to talk about each other. We weren't allowed to look at each other. We didn't exist to each other. And the entire time I'd just be crying about it. So that would make the bans go even longer, because if I was crying about it, that meant I was thinking about him and talking about him. Yeah. But so that's the other thing about it, was that there was only 100 kids at a time at the school, and we knew them like the back of our hand. I had to tell you to tell your life story once a week for the entire time that you were there, like, and your life story had to be about an hour long. Like, and you're 15, 16, your life story is not an hour long, but you had to make it about an hour long. So yeah, you would hear everybody's life story sometimes a couple of times, like sometimes like 5 times, and they would get longer and longer, and then you'd hear in those life stories all those disclosures, like the worst ones, that's the ones you would tell. So like, in my mind are some of the worst things that people have done over and over and over again. And so like, that's some of the reasons why I think people don't want to talk about CEDUs, because it makes them have to think about these things, or like like a lot of them, like I can't, like a lot of us were friends on Facebook for a while, and then there was a huge divide of when we figured out that it was a cult, and then it was like people would start talking about it like it was the best time of their lives, and like that it was the best, and they'd be friends with the staff member on Facebook, and it's like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're gonna be friends with your rapist too? Like it's like, are you kidding? Like, you don't realize that what we went through was horrible? It's like, no, you love that person too. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, in the way that, like, Stockholm syndrome love, like, it's not like, it's because you're just with somebody, like, I mean, it just gets so confusing for a lot of people that like, don't understand, or like, don't like educate, like, what a cult is, like, like, it's, yeah, fuck, man, I'm a little crazy. Like, CEDU was like so complicated, like they're like, you were there for a month and still learning rules, like, and there was never a list of like, these are all the rules, like, you would still be learning, like, you would be like there for 6 months and still learn a rule, and you like had to cop out to every time you didn't follow those rules. Fuck, man. But yeah, like, we knew we were the first one. We didn't know, like, but we would hear, like, there was like the sister schools to our specific school. But then we knew about Cascade. I'd only really recently heard about the Elan school, and I know that there are like other outward bounds. But like, I was just like, even just looking at your like how many podcasts you choose. I've never heard of any of those fucking places. I've never heard of any of those places. And like, to know that like you had a stretch where you had to fucking wear costumes, that is absolutely from CEDU. There's no way that's not from CEDU. That's a crazy. And I have to find it for you, but there's a site that somebody somebody I don't know, but I've made like I think they're my Facebook friend now. They found the actual scripts of the prophets and like has them posted.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it has like all the song, like it's like all the I mean it doesn't make sense to a normal person, but we can explain what happened kind of. But I'll find it. Yeah, because I only messaged you like this time yesterday. That I was like I saw that you wanted people to talk about it, and I was like, oh, I'll do it. And like 2 seconds later, you would add me as a friend, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And like, yeah, I'm also
Well,
doing.
we can always do a part 2 or a
Oh, we'll
part
definitely
3.
do it. Jeez, how long have we been talking for? And almost 2 hours. Yeah, as I told you, like I'm like, how long do you have?
Yeah.
I'm definitely probably your longest one already.
Oh no, I've had one that was like 4 hours long.
Oh, really? Like, and then because then you also hear about the fucking the religious ones, like the gay, where they try to turn you straight and shit, and like
Yeah.
no, I mean that's just truly those are it's just truly disgusting. There was a girl there. Oh my god, and she's fucking dead now. Me and Jackson, he termed the phrase. There is a good amount of people that have just killed themselves after CEDU. I can think of offhand that I knew 10 people that killed themselves after CEDU. And one girl, I was her dorm head, and then I became her big sister. I was her dorm head and her big sister. I mean, she's dead now, so I guess her name was Shama. She was a wonderful girl. I think she was Indian, and she was, I don't know, is it Buddhist? But she had is it the Bhagavad Gita? That's like her Bible, and she couldn't say the fucking word Nirvana because of the band Nirvana. So it was really hard for her. I only knew that because I'd read the word Nirvana and be like, oh, because there was a couple times where she'd be talking about her religion, because I hate religion. I think religion is disgusting, but like that one's kind of cool. And it just seems like it's a lot more than like I don't know. It's not like Christianity or fucking, I don't know. But I mean, I'm an idiot too, but like, the Bhagavad Gita was like, had just beautiful pictures in it, and like, but reincarnation and like, all they're like, I don't know, it's just a beautiful book to look at. And then I'd read the word Nirvana. I'm like, oh, she can't say Nirvana because of fucking Nirvana, so we couldn't talk about bands. And there was a couple times where she actually had to cop out to saying the word, because she couldn't even cop out to, like, she couldn't bring me to a room and be like, I said the word Nirvana, because that means that she's breaking the rule to all the people in the room so that was a very confusing thing. I don't know what she did with that. There's also like one Rockstar's kid that I was there with, one of his father's songs was a pop-off. Like it was like means that you couldn't sing it or talk about it. And it was the one that his father fucking wrote. It was like the most famous song the band had, and it's the one that his dad wrote. And like it sucked for him. He's just like, because it was maybe about like a risque subject, and he's like, you know what? My dad fucking wrote the music. He didn't write the words to it, but he wrote like all the music for it. It's their biggest hit, and like, it was you couldn't talk about the song, and like it was unacceptable there, and like, it was like I mean, I know the plight of a rock star's kid, and in a couple of different ways. And actually more than a couple, but like it's touchy, man. Like it's hard, like, and that like they would make it kind of harder. Like there was one time where the same kid, they were like, okay, this person's coming to visit their son. You are not to talk to them. You know what I mean? Like basically, a rock star's gonna be on campus. You're not. I don't want to, like, the staff saying, I don't want to see all of you going and asking for his signature and whatever. So basically, what happened is the guy came to talk to his son, and nobody spoke to him. Not one person acknowledged that he was even there, and it hurt him so bad. But I was at the dentist when this meeting had happened, where everyone said, do not talk to this person's father. So when I saw him, I was like, oh, hi, you're so-and-so's father. And I shook his hand, and he said hello. And he said that it meant the fucking world to him that I got to meet his dad, because like he was it hurt him so bad. But then like there was, you know, another one, like, you know, when his dad would visit, he would like go to the piano and start playing one of his songs. And like he taught me how to play one of his songs once. And his son would be like, you know, I'm a little embarrassed. Like, what do you like? He's like, you know, I feel like everybody's watching us, you know. So it was like, it was, you know, it was really different, but like the way that that was treated. And then sometimes you like, you know, like when it was like that kind of situation, you wondered like, you know, because they would like they told us like that, they advertised that like that, oh, we have rock stars kids at our school, like we have famous people's kids at our school, like so we must be good, right? You know what I mean? Like in the way that, you know, like I guess the Betty Ford clinic must, you know, get people and stuff like that. But yeah, like I mean a bunch of rock stars kids went there. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Paris Hilton went there.
Did they load people up on prescription
No,
medications there?
they didn't want you on meds. They didn't want you to go to AA. They said that they didn't, we couldn't use the word depression. They didn't believe in like, yeah, like there was only like a handful of people that were allowed to take a medication. It was like very, and like if they did, they never saw a psychiatrist. If they did, it was maybe a couple of times, maybe once every 3 months or something for like a just like quick check. And then you must not even know about the fucking guy. So you definitely don't even know the story. There's also, I'll have to send you a link to it for our part two, but there was also a fucking serial killer that worked on our fucking campus and was worked as a fucking psychiatrist, and I actually saw him once. And I went to him and we started talking, and he put his head down on the desk like this and looked at me. And I immediately was like, I'm out of here. Like, I don't know what the fuck that is, but that is not a normal thing for a psychiatrist to do. And I just walked out of the building, went and found my team leader, Pam Bell, who if I ever see in real life, I will tear her eyes out and get away with it. I was like, okay, I just saw this guy. He put his head down on the desk like he was going to take a nap, and I just walked out because that's really creepy. And she was like, I think you did the right thing. Turns out he was a serial killer. He worked for another psychiatrist that worked at CEDU, like helping kids, like the kids that got their meds, like get, you know, keep up with the prescriptions. Yeah, he killed a bunch of people. They think that he killed a bunch of people at CEDU. It's still under investigation. I'll find it. But yeah, man, I did not know, like, and it's still going on, right? Like, that's the whole thing, is that this is happening,
Yep.
like, 100%. I thought that, like, in 2005, when CEDU, like, was closed, that was, like, it. Like, I thought that, like, we would find out that, like, this has all been bad. So what I was talking about with my dad. So, my dad recently, so I was in the hospital, he had me, like, basically committed for extra days. Like, his neighbor is the head of fucking gynecology at Yale, and I was having a hysterectomy from fucking cancer surgery. And so he got me there, like, they kept me there for a couple of days extra. I fucking freaked out and broke a phone on the fucking wall, because I warned every doctor multiple times, like, this is gonna happen, like, I'm gonna end up saying that I'm suicidal and you're gonna keep me there for a long time and I'm gonna end up being in the psych ward. And they're like, no, you were there for a medical reason. I'm like, no, I promise you this is gonna happen, and it fucking did. And then afterwards, I was like, Dad, you need to understand that you sent me to a cult. I don't need you to apologize for it, but I need you to acknowledge it. Because every time I've told him, after I figured out what it was, you know, I've tried to be like, hey, remember CEDU? Like, yeah, it was really, really bad. Yeah, I got a lot of good out of it, but it was really fucked up. And like, and he will not believe me. And still, like, to the point where, like, we didn't talk after my surgery, and like, my regular psychiatrist had to do like a talk therapy a couple of times with us, and he's only done that a couple of times in his whole profession, and he only did it as a favor because he likes me so much. Like, because he's in, you know, he teaches people not to be afraid of flying. So he's had to do social work to get like certain degrees, and he doesn't believe that. I mean, he understands that, like, you know, anything could be inherently bad if there's bad people that are at the top, the kind of a situation. But he doesn't think that, like, they could be doing actual cult shit at our school. Hold on, let me give me 1 second. Oh. Oh. So like he understands that, like, yeah, he doesn't think that like he's like, a cult has to do with like there's a leader and like he fucks everybody and that's what a cult is. I'm like, no, it doesn't. um but it wasn't, it was the self-policing and like yeah, you weren't allowed to think negative thoughts about anybody, and so you just trained your brain not to. Like, I wasn't allowed to have like sexual or like love relation like feelings about Jackson, my best friend, my first real love. I wasn't allowed to have those feelings about him. So I forced myself not to for a good amount of time, so that like, and afterwards it was hard for me to like actually be in a relationship with him, because I had trained myself not to have like to deny my feelings for him. So that was like super hard. But like, yeah, like the yeah, to be there. I don't know how they, I mean, I'm like trying to think of like how they did it, but it's like the ratting everybody out and like the self-policing thing. But yeah, I'm like, how do I explain how they fucking made it so that you didn't think about things? It's like, I don't know how to tell you how they did that, because I don't even remember. But like, we definitely didn't think about a lot of things, like they made us. And like, there was also like, you got to know everybody's body language super well. Like, there was no television and you were just around people all the time, and like you were constantly telling your life story over and over to each other. So like, you knew people's body language 100%. And like, if like, you knew when somebody was like out of agreement, like you knew, which means that you weren't following the rules. Like, if somebody was like doing something bad, you saw it in them just by the way they were walking around. Like, this person's off, like what the fuck are they doing? They're doing something bad. um and yeah, that was the, I don't know, is that anything that you picked up from the other schools, like the self-policing thing, where they're like, you're forced to like tell on your friends and like.
Yeah, when you get to level 4, you actually become junior staff, and you pretty much act as police to the lower level families. So you pretty much have to police them and call them out on rules and all that.
But it wasn't expected like the whole time.
Oh yeah, it was expected the whole time. You have to do it in on all levels, but especially when you get on the upper levels, that's like literally your job, is to look over families.
So my group was kind of legendary too, in the way that like, so for some reason when my group got to like at the end, the last like 2 months that you're there, you have an older student dorm. It's off campus usually, which just means that like you can listen to a couple more bands, like maybe 20 more bands. Like, you actually get a CD player, and like you can have there's a couple of CDs you have, and like you can have you have a refrigerator, and you can like take food from the kitchen and like bring it there, so like you can make a bagel in the morning, and it's, you have like a couple more privileges, and like you could stay up like a couple like hours later and stuff. But my peer group, we got that, but we didn't. We got to live in the older student dorm, but got no privileges. And we were fucking pissed. So we all started having sex with each other and smoking cigarettes. Like, one of us found a way to get a carton of mediums, yeah, like Marb 100 mediums, I think. And so we're all smoking these Marlboros and like giving each other like head in like the bathroom, like in the middle of the night, because like we were just so mad. We're like, we've done this for so long and we weren't getting like like, the stuff we had been promised for so long, and we knew we only had 2 months left. What were they gonna do? Like, but like we're like, what are you gonna do? We're on our way out, and like we got caught out by one of the youngest people that was there. She totally like found us out, wrote on a whiteboard in front of a bunch of people, "Summit is dirty." So that was like that was the top group, Summit, and dirty means that you're out of agreement. She just wrote, "Summit is dirty," and walked away. And we were just like, we were looking at each other like, we didn't do shit, whatever. But like, we got totally cut out. But like, one of the youngest, yeah, like youngest people, she wrote, "Summit is dirty." And oh guys, I can't. She was awesome, and she was one of the gang members that had fucking shot people before, and she fucking totally snitched on us. But it was
Wow.
like, but that was the whole thing. It was like, we were like about to leave. We did what the fuck we wanted anyway, but we had to like call our parents and tell them what we did, and then graduate a couple weeks later with like no honors, like all this stuff that we're supposed to get like when we graduated, like we're supposed to, like there was supposed to be a legacy night where like we give a couple of like things that like are treasured to us to like people, like really young students, for them to carry for their life. I still have a legacy gift somebody gave me when I that first graduation that I saw. I still have it to this day. It's downstairs. And then fuck. And then yeah, like we like they like it's like, yeah, we graduated, but like we were not praised. Like there was no like party. Like it was like, yeah, you graduated, get the fuck out of here, you fucked it. Like, and then when we talked to like other like I mean I would still go back to visit it because I was an alumni, and like we would talk to this like we fucked that school up for like good 5 years, I think. Like we made like the rules got way harder after we left, and like they like my friends fully let us know that like we made the school worse because we messed it up. But yeah, but I mean it doesn't matter. It was bad anyways. How much of what I'm saying is like been said before you or whatever?
Well, like a lot of it relates. It's just different there. They just did it in a different way.
Yeah.
Like almost everything correlates. Almost everything correlates, which is interesting.
And you were there at the age of the internet too.
Yeah, I got there at age 16. Yeah.
No, like no, but like the internet had been a thing. Like
Yeah.
see, that's what I don't like. That's the crazy part. So man, so what was your school called?
Spring Creek Lodge Academy.
And where it was in Montana? Is that what you said?
Yep, Thompson Falls, Montana. Yeah.
And there was how many people there?
I want to say around like 300 when I got there.
Oh my god! And then and how long was it a school for? Like when did it start?
I'm not exactly sure on that.
Oh, they're like proud of their heritage, like they
I think
were.
it was like 10 or 15 years, something like that. But it was way too long for them to be open.
Right, but did they have like what was the staff members like there? Was it like clinical or was it like?
They had they had a lot of people there that said they were doctors. I don't know if they actually were doctors. There was only like one doctor on the entire facility, and that was the person that gave people a bunch of prescription medication and either dosed them up on a bunch of meds or took away their meds.
Right.
Completely.
Like a prison doctor, like somebody just didn't make sure that the mills were running the right way.
Yeah, and then other than that, they didn't do background checks, and just essentially anybody could come to work there. And Thompson Falls was such a small town that it pretty much provided all the income to the town, so the sheriff was bought off, in my opinion.
That's what. Yeah, that was definitely a situation in CEDU too. Yeah.
Yeah. So they just and anybody that tried to run away, the closest town is 30 miles away. So if you make it to the next town, everybody there knows to look for you and knows exactly what uniform everybody wears. They know that because they have us all wear the same uniform. So
yeah. So I think it's the grocery store in town. It was just all missing children, but like, but also like we knew for a fact that like it was on the top of a mountain, and like if you went off the mountain in a certain way, it was just a cliff. So like there would be times where we'd see helicopters and we knew they were there looking for one of the kids because they hadn't been found. So it was like it was like it was a good deterrent, but like people ran away a lot. Like Jackson ran away once. He got all the way home and his dad was like, what are you doing here? Like, and just brought him back. But like yeah, like yeah, you could run away, but then like even like there was one, like a friend of mine, he ran away, and I had to go and I went and talked him back. Like staff was like, please go and talk this person back. And I was like, okay, like thinking I was doing a good thing. I was like, come on, because this was the whole thing. Like this is when I bought into it. Like I was fighting it and fighting it. Like this was the worst thing. This is horrible. Like whatever. Like this is so fucked up. They're doing all this fucked up shit to us or whatever. And then I was on a table, like which is I was still allowed to smile, I think, and laugh and sing, but I wasn't allowed to touch anybody. And they just put me on a table because I wasn't doing anything. Like I wasn't bringing anyone to WASP and being like, I saw you do this and this, or like, oh, I think that you're lying about this, this, and this, or I think that you're doing this, or like usually if you thought like if you thought that somebody was doing something wrong, you had to scream at them about it. Like even if you had a little thought about it, you had to yell at them for it. Because if you didn't, then you were yelled at. So that was just the way it went. So like I was on a table, and one of the older students who I'm still friends with, she sat down with me and she's like, listen, somebody told me this and I'm going to tell it to you and maybe it'll help you. And she's like, so you have your whole life in front of you. You know, like, so, you know, like this is the beginning of your life and this is the end. Okay, CEDU's like right here, right? And yeah, it's like, taking up a big chunk because it is so long, but what if that little part, this little part makes it so this whole rest of the part is so much better? Like, because like, obviously it sucks, but like you are learning shit, like, right? Like, what if it really does give you like all the tools so that the rest of your whole life is kind of super awesome? Like that you'll be smart, like that you'll be so much emotionally smarter than everybody else. And like, you know, like, and I was like, okay. And like, and it's like, and even she was just kind of like, just buy into it. Just like you had, like I only had like a year left or like a year and a half left. And they're like, and you know, it's like, it was just like, just let go, just like give into it. And because it you know, like, because if you're still going to be fighting, it's just they're going to make you stay longer and you're going to be fighting the whole time. You know what I mean? Just give in. And like, and like she just kind of gave me this talk that like I was like, okay, I'm going to buy into it. And it like, and I did, to the point where, yeah, it took, like, I would go and I would visit. And like when Paris Hilton was sitting me, they're telling me like, why are you visiting this school? That I can't wear eyeliner. That was like the big thing that she was like, I don't understand how you can't live without eyeliner. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, you know, she told me her life story. She was like, I live in the Waldorf Astoria, and like I don't go out until 2:00 in the morning, and like I get paid to like dance on tables at bars that like you need a key and a password to get into, and those bars are only open from 4:00 in the morning. But like, you know, she had a ridiculous life and she was like 14 or 15 when I met her. Yes, I think she's like a year or something younger than me. She was really nice. I don't want like she was like, I mean, like she had a very like crazy like upbringing, and like she was really nice. She seemed pretty like innocent, and like she seemed like a nice person. But yeah, like I hung out with her for like a whole week because when she got there, she wouldn't talk to anybody, and that's what I did. I refused to talk to anybody. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't do anything that they told me to do, and she did the same thing. And we were both anorexic blondes, basically. Yeah, so like she like kind of clung to me because I was wearing eyeliner, and I was allowed, because I was an alumni, so I was allowed to have the privileges of like my life, but like kind of show it off, just like like I'm an alumni and I'm visiting, like the school can't be that bad, right? Like, so I'm visiting you, kind of a thing. And so like she kind of clung to me, and we talked for like a week, and I wish I remembered a lot more about it, but yeah, but like what she did was kind of awesome. Like you've seen the This Is Paris thing she did on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she mentioned CEDU for like a second. But like, 'cause she got sent to so many, and like Provo, like hearing what that happened to her at fucking Provo was way worse. But because it was obviously abuse, it's kind of easier because, oh yeah, that's abuse, like that, okay, that makes sense. But because ours was so cool, oh, and like we had the smushing too, like there was constant touching. Like if I was sitting on a couch, like if I was just like sitting anywhere, there's no way that somebody wasn't touching both sides of me. And it was like guys and girls. It wasn't like just only girls. Like you would always, like, if you were sitting down, you would put like your back to somebody, and then like somebody would like put their head like in your lap, and you would just lie like that for hours. Like you were always expected to be touching somebody because, like the healing like the healing power of the human touch or whatever. But like, but it was like a lot of it was very weird. But yeah, but then it was, I think there was more rules added to it when I got there, but it used to be like fully way more like a guy would have his legs fully open, a girl would just sit like right against his cock, like just really super, and like that would be an adult and a little girl, and like it would be like super inappropriate, and it got a tiny bit less inappropriate when I got there, because there's like lawsuits about, I know I read a lawsuit recently about a fucking staff member. There was a rap, and this girl was confessing about like a horrible sexual abuse that happened to her. And the staff member, after the fucking rap was over, everybody left, and the staff member cradled her against him for like an hour while she cried. Mostly she was crying because a fucking adult had a hard-on against her while alone at a school. Like, then that, like, I think she's like, I don't know if she did sue or is suing, but it was like, I mean, I never saw that happen. That I totally 100% believe it. There, like, I never got like sexually anything, nothing happened to me there. But like I would hear about, there's a couple of staff members that I heard did stuff to kids. But I can't say anything specifically happened to me. But I feel like any place where there's people of power, there's going to be fucked up people. Like, so that, I mean, but yeah, like I did hear, since like in the 70s and 80s, like if you were a girl at CEDU, you pretty much had to start fucking your roommates. Like there was a whole weird like thing that went on. Yeah, like there was because of the whole, like, when you were a student, you were an older student, you were in charge of everybody. So I think that like there was weird eras of CEDU where that went on, that I've only read about from other alumni. Yeah, there was definitely, because it went on for so long, there were different, like, you used to be able to smoke cigarettes there. So like when I got there in '94, one of Jackson's peer group, this one guy, he had taken the chandelier down out of the main house. It's this huge chandelier, and we were all rubbing it clean from the fucking 20 years of cigarette smoking that it endured. So like, it wasn't, there were good parts about it. Like there were things that we did that were really cool. Like and I mean, I had tons of fucking friends that like I talk to. Like I'll talk to. I could not talk to somebody for 20 years, and I'll talk to them, and it'll be like nothing ever happened. No time. It was yesterday that I talked to them, and I'll talk to them, and they will understand me in a way that nobody has understood me in the last 20 years, because we just know each other so well. And so that also gets confusing when people are like, oh, it wasn't a cult, like whatever, like, because we have, like, we wouldn't have each other if we didn't have. It's like, that's what people that survived the Holocaust say, or went through jail, or went through Vietnam or whatever. So I'm fucking babbling, I'm sorry.
So
do you know about this book?
What's up?
Do you know about this book? It's The Discarded Ones by James Tipper. He went to CEDU. He didn't graduate, but he was. This is before my time, I think. But there's a book about it.
Okay, I don't think I've heard of it, but I will look into it.
I'll have to email you I'll text you a bunch of stuff after this. We just met.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there were ones that fucking hundreds of kids went, and that they like lined you up and shit. I gotta hear more about what you went through. I have to watch more of your stuff. Man, I'm sorry. Like I just don't get to talk about this that much. So when you were like, "Do you want to do a podcast?" I will do that. I will do it now, and I will not. I'm like, how long can I talk for about it? Because every therapist that I've had that I've told this about, so it's like you have 45 minutes to talk about something, and then you have the next 45 minutes to remind them of everything you just told them in the last 45 minutes, because they don't I'm not meeting somebody that knows what CEDU is, knows really what the troubled teen industry is in general, and then then so like I have to find a therapist that like knows post-traumatic stress and the troubled teen industry, and I haven't found one yet because my whole life, I mean, it's gotten better. I'm trying to think of the last time. I mean, I can't remember the last time that I was sleeping and I was dreaming that I was still there. But I mean, it used to be every other night that I would wake up because my boyfriend would be like, "You're talking in your sleep, go back to sleep." Like, so I'd just be screaming that I was still there. So I'd be sleeping and I'm like, I already learned this. I already went through this prophet. I already know all this stuff. Like, this is what it is. This is the answer to this. Like, I already graduated. Why am I here again? I'm still there all the time in my dream, like always in my sleep. And like I'd posted on Facebook, I was stuck at CEDU tonight again, and all my friends were like, "Yep, had one last night too," or "Yep, 2 nights ago." And it's like all of us like that's when we remember, is when or we're sleeping, is that we all of us dream and we're still there, like all of us. And like then I looked up post-traumatic stress disorder, and that means that's the symptom of a different kind of post-traumatic stress, and that's like extreme, like another, like there's another letter added to it. I forget what it is, but yeah.
Well, PTSD is being stuck in a moment and it's replaying over and over again.
Yeah, no, but then there's a complex yeah, but people that like were kidnapped for like or like stuff like that, or like people that have like what's the one that you feel good for, you feel love for your captors,
You said it earlier too.
yeah, that one. The people that experience that they have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a whole nother level. It's like a whole nother, like that's what prisoners of war have, is complex post-traumatic complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah, like there's so much to talk about it, and there's so many levels of it. And like when like Liam made that documentary, there's like 8 parts to it, and like it was just like, I can't believe there's something on YouTube that I can be like, oh, I don't have, if you have a question, like, oh, I just met you, you want to know about, how am I going to explain? Okay, now, if you just sit in front of this computer for like a half an hour, you'll understand a whole lot more than I could explain in 4 hours. Like, it's just, there were so many different parts to it, like so many different levels of like what went on in the school, between like all the rules that we had to learn about like policing ourselves, and like things we were allowed to say, and like we weren't, like all our correspondence in from our families was like monitored, like in and out, and like we weren't like, I wasn't allowed to, all our phone calls, like you were allowed to talk to your parents once every week or every 2 weeks, I think it was in the beginning. And it was with another student, like an older student had to be with you, and like they would go get this phone from the office, and they'd go to this other room that wasn't being used and plug it in and sit with you, and you'd call collect to your parents, and they'd sit with you for 10 minutes and time it. And then, but if they heard you say something that was against the rules, they would hang up the phone. And that could be anything from like, if you mistakenly mentioned something you heard in a rap, which, because that would be breaking the agreement of like, you can't, if you weren't in a rap, like if you were in a rap and something went on and you're with somebody else that was in that rap, you guys can talk about it. But if somebody else wasn't in that rap, you guys can't talk about it. So it was like the same thing with prophets. Like if you've, but like if you've been through a prophet, you can talk to other people who've been to that prophet about it. There's so many rules. Like even to this day, like, oh, like even in one of the Liam's things, like there was a girl that there was one of the things that we had to go through. We had to put a towel in between our teeth and pull up, like roll up a towel, hold it in our teeth and pull really hard. And this one girl, it's in Liam's documentary. Her name, I don't know what it is. I forget what it is, but she had veneers on her teeth, and also like, and it fucked up something in her jaw, and she had to go to the doctor with this injury, and she couldn't tell them how she got it. So the doctor didn't know what, like, that it was from some weird fucking thing where she had to overexert certain muscles, because why would anybody do that? And she had to still, like, at the point of the documentary, she was still like 10 or 15, 20 years later getting surgeries to repair something that happened because she couldn't tell a doctor what happened to her because of CEDU. And that like stuff that was that's a totally common story. Because like there would be like times that happened before. Like,
is this documentary? Where's this documentary available? Can you
it's on
send that?
YouTube. If you just it's yeah, if you just like, if there's so many like, because it was the first, like there's a Wikipedia about CEDU, and it's all fucking true. um like, you know, sometimes those things aren't real, but like, I mean, there didn't used to be. It's only really recently, hon. But if you just look up CEDU, sometimes you have to look up CEDU schools, but because I've looked at it so many times, it just shows up. But yeah, like this is that's like the logo for the school. It's on Wikipedia. Yeah, and there's even the Carl Work School. Have you done somebody about that? I didn't know about that one. But Liam's YouTube, I'm trying to think. But if you just look up on YouTube, CEDU, you'll find it. Or CEDU documentary. And yes, surviving CEDU documentary.
Okay.
That girl, her name's Laura. I've made friends with her on Facebook. She's kind of awesome. She's had to go through some crazy shit, but it's like, oh, and then yeah, this is my friend Adam Eget, who was on Joe Rogan's podcast. Oh, talking about CEDU. There he is. And he's doing really amazing now. But it's 54,000 views. But I think Liam died. Because yeah, after this was made, I got in contact with them. So I was like, listen, my mom died after been there for a month. It was kind of weird, and so I told them about it. But I'm pretty sure that he died. So I don't think that any more of the documentary is going to come out. And this was out 14 years ago. But you haven't seen this?
I don't think so.
There's like Welcome to CEDU, and then yeah, there's 11 videos for the documentary Welcome to CEDU. And then Come Smush With Me, that's what we're talking about, like all the like group touching, and then W.W.A.S.P. This girl talks about.
I might have seen it because I've seen a bunch of documentaries. It might be one of the ones that I saw because I saw The Last Stop and I saw like 3 other ones.
Oh, yeah, that's the one about the
Alon School, yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah. That would, I don't know. I mean, that might be like an offshoot of an offshoot, maybe, of CEDU. Like, it didn't seem like there were that many. I mean, they did weird stuff, but it's like maybe they just changed it so much because that it's just not recognizable anymore. I mean, because there's just words that are the same with our schools. But that's Dennis. That's the one nice guy that was in it. That right there. But it talks about some of the the raps and the prophets. It's just that it's so hard to like tell somebody, like, be like, oh yeah, they were playing this song and we had to run in place over and over again, and then a staff would ask you, does I want to stop or does me want to stop? And your I is your head, and your me is your heart and your inner child and your soul. So you're running and you want to stop, but who does it want to stop? Is it your I or is it your me? And for a fucking kid to try to figure out what their it is, it's like you don't know what the right answer is. And you're just like trying to tell them what they want to hear, and I like just running in place to some Beatles song I don't even remember the name of, and like just running and running. Like some people are throwing up, and like one staff member has his hand up in the air and he wants you to hit your knees up to it, and like this is after you'd been running in place for a couple of hours, like 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 how do you, like, it's really hard to explain that stuff. So yeah, back to like, yeah, like I mean me and my dad have been fighting about this my entire life, and like I love my dad a super amount. He's a fucking genius. He's the first person to copyright a therapy process. He if you are afraid of flying, if you talk to my dad for fucking one day, you will not be afraid of flying anymore. It's just the way he is. He has figured out a way of like hypnotizing your brain into knowing that you're safe. And he's really good at it. He's been on TV a million times talking about fear of flying and like explaining stuff about planes because he has like, you know, unique experience of being in the Air Force and then a pilot for 2 major airlines, and now, you know, he teaches people not to be afraid of flying. And he's super smart, and I love him to death, and it's like he will not accept that this happened to me, and it's killing us. And we've just recently just been like, we're not going to talk about it anymore because it's just too painful. But it's like he thinks that it's like he can't accept that like he sent me to somewhere that was so damaging, and that it's like still going on, because I'm sure he sent people there. Like I'm sure in his professional career he has had to send people to the troubled industry. There's no way that because that's I think that's pretty much what they all are, you know. Like, but then he also gets confused with like hospital stays and like the troubled teen industry, like that the Girl Interrupted book and movie, like, you know, I mean, like hospitals are usually really bad, and they're not really therapeutic places for people either. And if you're in the, you know, troubled teen industry, you probably have, you know, you probably not have some chemical imbalances. But yeah, so I mean, you know, when we were fighting about that, he's like, well, what about Girl Interrupted? You read that book and saw that movie, like, was that place fucked up? I'm like, well, hospitals are usually, yeah, they're usually fucked up, but that's not the point. It's like, you know, he's like, well, it's like, because he's like, you know, you needed to go somewhere. It's like, maybe I needed to go somewhere, but like, that's not really the point. It's not like, you know, like, what do you do if your kid's like being bad? Like, what do you do if you're like, your kid is like, you know, acting out? And it's like, well, you know what? The answer shouldn't cost about $100,000, and it shouldn't involve you not seeing your kid for 2 years. It shouldn't involve your kid not talking to their siblings, or like it shouldn't involve your conversations with your children being policed by other people. Like, if you're gonna send your kid to somewhere, make sure that you can fucking talk to them freely, like, about what's going on there, because yeah. But like we didn't have the internet. Like, you know, God, I sound so fucking old. Like that, like I got AOL when I was like 19, I think. I think that's like when AOL came out, and I left CEDU when I was 17. So like, and that's like right when Facebook started. I started a group. I started like CEDU. I think it was just called CEDU Friends, and then I realized that people were adding staff members, and I was like, okay, I got to put a stop to this. And then right away, there became a line of CEDU people that were pro CEDU and against CEDU, and then like a lot of people just kind of disappeared because they, you know, like, yeah, there are good parts and bad parts and like whatever, but like they're like, I'm of the like it was bad, and so I changed CEDU Friends to just CEDU is wrong. Oh no, and there was a different I don't know. I've had a couple of like friend groups for talking about CEDU stuff, and they're like, you know, 1,000 people in it. So there's a lot of us, but it's weird to know that there are so many others. Like, I didn't really know it was still really going on. I thought that like because of the internet, like, you know, that you know, how could it still be going on, but it totally is. And it's
because there's so much money involved that people can just, if one school gets shut down, what they do is they just rebrand and open up another one in another place. So they just, yep.
We were so proud of being the first, man. Like, it's like, yeah, we're the first one. Like, you know, we're the originator. Like, to the point where like I met a good friend of mine, and I was like, yeah, I went to this place called CEDU. He's like, oh my God, wasn't that a cult? I'm like, how do you know about it? He's like, oh, because he's like, he works like in social work, and he's like, oh no, I know about that school. It's really messed up, right? And I told him all about it. It's like, how do you know about it? Like, yeah, it's just yeah, like, but like, how do you talk to any of the people that you went there with?
Yeah, I talked to quite a few people that I went there with, yeah, but a lot of them are dead.
And how did that happen?
Just by, you know, over the years, a lot of them suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had whatever your version of CEDU is, yeah, like, yeah, a good amount.
Or drug addiction, like
Yeah.
heavy drug addiction. Like I'm 2 years and 7 months clean off of hard drugs. I just smoke weed, but
That's the best way to quit those drugs too, I think.
yeah,
That's the only way I've seen it done successfully. Is weed.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's like the biggest I mean, if you're my friend and you don't know what CEDU is, you're not really my friend, or I've really never had a conversation with you probably. Like everyone knows it about me. Um, I mean, everyone knows who everyone in my life knows who Jackson is, and they've never met him because he's just been the biggest person in my life for the longest time, because we went through this crazy thing together, and like he was my first love, and like we were together for like years and years, and then it got to the point where like I couldn't accept a certain way he was treating me, but we dealt with it and like squashed it out, and we're just, like he's just my best friend. I love his wife and I love his children. I went to his wedding, and my boyfriend calls him my soulmate as like in a joking way. But it's like we went through something that like is completely it's completely unique, and yeah, I mean, we all knew each other so closely that if we see each other from behind 30, 40, 50 feet away, we will know that person because we just were around each other so much for so long. But there was only 100 of us at a time. Man, 300. I was expecting smaller numbers. Like I thought that 100 was a lot. I felt like that was like huge.
yeah.
But
Well, the numbers shrinked, at least for my program. Once I got there, they started shrinking. But I think the most that was there was like 300.
what did the building look like? What was it like? Was it like a prison, like hospital kind of setting, or was it like? Because ours was like a log cabin. Ours looked like camp.
Ours was a bunch of log cabins. It literally
Oh,
looked
was
like
it
a ski
really?
resort when I went up there. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
bunch of yeah.
You're so an offsuit of she, dude. So you don't even know, like, have you done like research on like who started your school and stuff? Like,
Yeah, yeah. There's quite a bit of research into that. I just don't have the specifics like right on my head right now.
I
This
gotta
was
look
kind
that
of
up.
like last.
I gotta figure. That's so crazy. It would be. I really, because I know that I've actually seen it too. I'll have to find it. I've seen it somewhere. There's like a tree online of like the schools, and how CEDU is the trunk and it's the first one, and then all the offshoots and all the tributaries of all the different schools that started from
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm 43, and I got out when I was 17, and like every, certain amount of time will pass, and then I'll be like, CEDU again. Like it won't shut up about it, and like, it'll be like all in my thoughts, and I'll watch all the movies, and I'll look up all the new documentaries, and then I'll like kind of forget about it, and then like something comes up and it's CEDU again. And like I think it's the worst for my boyfriend, but like yeah, I mean, it's even like all my last boyfriends have like it's something they have to deal with, is the fact that there's this thing I won't shut the fuck up about. But like, I mean, but it's so stupid to think that like, oh yeah, but it did make me a better person. Like, I mean, but you're supposed to live your life and learn those life lessons. You're not supposed to be forced to feel them when you're a fucking kid. Um, But yeah, there's some people out there that like, if I ever saw Pamela Abel in person, I could kill her with my teeth, and I know I could look people in the eye and be like, that was completely justified in every way based on what she did to me. Like there were these people, the people that the family, the team heads, like there were people that just worked there that were like that were good, and you realize that they were just there for a paycheck, and that what like then when they got out, you realize that they got out. But I mean, there are people that are still like talking about it like they didn't do anything bad. Like there's a guy named Randolph that worked there, and he wasn't a team head, and but he was up there on the staff, and like he still believes it was a great place. He still believes that, like, I mean, he thinks there was problematic, but in the way that like there would be problems at any institution that had that many people. Like he doesn't think that like it was a cult. He thinks it was special, and that, you know, like that it taught kids how to live their life, and that plus our school was based on something good. It was based on there's a book called The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Please tell me that's what your school is based on too.
I'm not certain off that.
Oh, okay.
I have to check.
Okay, so there's a book called The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, and the other day I was in BJ's waiting for my tires to be changed, and I saw it. I picked it up and I was reading it, and I smiled as I read the words that I'm mouthing because I know these words by heart because they've been repeated to me over and over and over again at CEDU, and like I texted Jackson, and I'm like, "People of ortholepsy," like I'm retexting him the words from the Prophet, and like. He's like, and he's like sending me love, like that he loves these things. And I'm like, how do we still love this book that was our Bible at our cult? Like, how is it? And it was because it was based on such good things, but like made us feel these things and did horrible things to us to make these things that, you know, that was so abusive. It's like, it's so hard because my whole like everything, my whole life is based on what I learned. Like I live my life because of things I learned there. It's just what happens because that's just like they taught us what feelings are and how to feel them. So that's how I feel feelings. And like, so any therapist I go to is triggering, just talking about anything that is therapeutic. My cult was therapy. So like, therefore, like finding a therapist now is fucking so fucking hard. And like finding people that talk to about this is just so hard. So like I was texting Jackson, I'm like, can I say your name in this, you know? And he's like, oh, of course you can. And he's like, I want to talk. He's like, and can I talk to him, please? Can I maybe talk to him? I'm like, I'm sure that you can talk to him.
Yeah, send him my way.
I will, yeah. I can't believe the amount of people that were there, though. I'm gonna have to really educate myself on your school.
Well, actually, you have my number, so just like
yeah, I'll just send you a bunch
tell
of
him to
links.
text me. Tell him
My
to text
God,
me.
2.5 hours we've been talking. Yeah, I mean, I'll have to fucking actually think about like what I want to tell you because I barely had a day to think about what I was going to talk to you about in this, and just thought I was going to blubber cry the entire time. But I think just because you've been there, like you.
Yeah, we can.
What?
I was gonna say, just like I was thinking for the second one, just take some notes or whatever, and just let me know when you want to do part 2 or whatever.
Yeah. Yes. I'm trying to. It's weird that I don't know why nobody has said anything. Maybe you just haven't like. Because I even think that post that I responded to was like super old too, right?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I usually put new feeler posts out there like every few months just to grab in more people for the podcast.
But I think that like have you talked to anybody my age that has been there like around the times that I was at a troubled teen school in the 90s?
Oh, that have been in the troubled teen industry? Yeah.
No, that like we're at like a school in the 90s.
Yeah, I've talked to at least a few. At least a few.
How often has the word?
I know for sure that I've talked to somebody that went to Cascade.
Yeah, a girl that got sent to CEDU was sent from Cascade. One thing they did different was if you were violent, this is one thing I heard about Cascade is that if you were violent, they would put you in a sleeping bag, wrap duct tape around you, and put you in the library until you were done being mad. So that or they just leave you there for like a couple days until you I think you were like kind of forced to shit and piss yourself. And like they would starve you for a couple days until you were like done like being mad or until you would like learn your lesson to not be violent or something. I was like, whoa, like they don't do that to us here, but all right, welcome to CEDU. Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, but like yeah, it's so hard for people for a lot of there's a lot of people that just still think it was good, and that's the hardest part is that it's like how do you like wake somebody up like be like yeah, like there were good parts, but like, that thing they did to us and that thing, those are not normal things.
Yeah.
God, I gotta watch all your stuff, but yeah, like I'm in contact with a lot of people. So how often has CEDU, like, has anybody else mentioned CEDU besides the Cascade? How did you know that CEDU was the first?
I mean, I've done some research myself into the
Right.
troubleteen industry. So mainly just by my own research and just
Yeah.
like hearing people talk about it. It's been mentioned for sure, like a lot of times. I just haven't had somebody that's been there come on the show yet.
Wow. That's so lucky. Yeah, no, there's definitely a couple people that want to talk to you. Yeah, it's weird. Like, I've had a couple of fallings out with the people after CH. Like, you'll end up fighting with them about something, and like then you have the option of not talking to them anymore. So that's always interesting. But yeah, like being forced to like you were forced to be friends with people, like, and you were like forced to love people you probably didn't want to. That was weird. But I think like I will I like I mean I feel like I feel like I have all the tools to start my own cult based on having been through one and like knowing how it works, like in the like in that like the way that if you can set it up so that like you, when you're just still in the school, that the kids are running the school, that's the fucked up part. That's when it's crazy. Like, were there people that like worked like as like maintenance people at your school, or like was there somebody that like did like like the gardening or something, or was like or you guys did that?
We had a maintenance person, and then we had family fathers, and then we had
Family fathers was that?
family fathers was the people that overlooked each family. So they would like consequent people, like the junior staff, the upper level students would also there'd be like 2 or 3 upper level students to each family every day. And then there'd be a family father that ran day-to-day operations within each family. So each family would have a different schedule, like each time to eat, stuff like that, time
Oh,
for
there's so many people that you had to. So there was like people that like you probably didn't even know their fucking name, right? Like,
yeah, you can't, yeah. You weren't supposed to talk to people that were in other families. You weren't even supposed to really make eye contact.
that's
Yeah.
insane. So how big was your family?
Each family was about 30 kids. So in each
They
side,
were of all different levels, right? Like they were all.
uh, levels 1 through 3.
Oh, so they're all the lower
Because
levels.
once you get onto level 4, you went to lower facility, which was sort of like when you were right about to graduate, when you were smoking all those cigarettes and stuff.
That's like, yeah, that's the older.
Yeah, that's like lower facility. You get more privileges. You can have your parents send you up food, like actual food that you don't get on the facility. And then if you haven't gotten consequenced any that week, you can eat the food. But then if you did get consequenced and you go into your lockbox anyways, you get a category 4, which is a theft for stealing your own food. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot of similarities.
That's so crazy. The stretch is the craziest one, though. That's funny that like you had to do because it's definitely the same thing.
Yeah, that's definitely the same thing.
It's so funny. I have to figure out. Because I wonder if like I can figure out like what staff members left and started your fucking school. Because if I'm like 10 years older than you. There's a chance that like I at least know their name from hearing their, you know what I mean? Like I've heard their name before, It's not Donna Dillman. It's not, you don't know the names Donna Dillman or Guy Bonanno. You don't know these names?
No.
You don't know, or no, that was not Donna Dillman. It wasn't what was Lori Bonanno? No, what was the other one? I don't remember.
There's so many schools though, chances are they did create one of them.
I know. Yeah, no, it's it's crazy. No, but it's just, and I think that because CEDU was the first, I think that if you were staff there for a good amount of time and you left, you could go to all these other schools and be like, hey, I worked with the originator, give me a job. And they'd be like, you can run, you're in charge of 100 kids now. Like, I think that was kind of the situation. Like, because we'll hear like, oh, this person that definitely fucked that kid is working with little boys now in this city. And like there's Reddits about like this specific guy named Martin Weens, who I think molested a bunch of kids, a bunch of boys, and is still doing it. And I don't give a fuck about saying his name because I think he's probably a douchebag. Because just enough people have said that he like fucked them. I'm sorry, I'm very brutal and but yeah, Russ Decker was the biggest fucking asshole there. He like because he would specifically because he went there as a student. He fucking went through the program and came back and like they made him a fucking teen, like a family head. Like he loved picking people and like just making their life hell for years to the point where they couldn't even graduate. Like this one guy, his name this one guy's name is Mike Balaban. I'll say his name because he just did a podcast. He ended up having to do two, like we're gonna have to do. He did it on a different it's a cult podcast. It's on YouTube, but it doesn't show video on YouTube. It's I'll send you a link. But I knew him there. He got there. I think he was an older student to me. He had been there longer than I was. And like I remember his struggle because it was fucking legendary to the point where there's a stump in my boyfriend's backyard that I really want to take out because if you were bad and like you were trouble, they would give you and you would go on a full time, they would give you a stump, which meant that there was a stump in the ground, you had to get it out. When you got it out, that's when your full time was over. So that could be however long it takes you to take a stump out, which sometimes can be months and months and months long. Because you have to get all those fucking roots out, and they only give you like a pick and a shovel to get a fucking stump out of the ground. And this is the top of a mountain in California. I don't know how long that tree has been there since, it's not a fucking new tree. But Mike Balaban had to fucking take this stump out, and I remember so many raps of him talking about this fucking stump and getting out of the ground, and fucking Russ Decker just abusing him and giving him hell, and like he got sent to Ascent. He's one of those people that he got sent to Ascent, and when he was there, his peer group went further and went to like the next level. So he had to go back. Like he had to stay for another 6 months. His program was gonna be another 6 months. He never leveled up. And then I think that he even like went home and was sent back again. But like he was there for like almost 2 years and never leveled up. And like I didn't even realize that could happen until I listened to the podcast and realized that it was totally true. I hope if he's listening to this, hello Mike, I listened to your podcast and I love you. Yeah, like he had it super hard. Russ was in charge of him. I remember specifically what a dick he was to him. But yeah, my team head was Pam Abell, and she was in charge of all the girls that had eating disorders. I was kind of sent there for an eating disorder. I had like a slight one when I got there. I don't know. How big of an eating disorder can it be when you're only 14? It's only been around for a couple months, but I was just mostly there because my dad went to an education consultant that told him that this place would solve my problems, and I had been expelled from 8th grade. So I mean, like maybe he did need to send me somewhere, but I don't know. What was I gonna say? Man, but like going in the age of the internet is harder, and just a different kind of hard, because even if we did get into town, like we could walk into town, but like there was the payphone, like there was no way of telling anybody what was going on. Like there was no way of, and like they already told us that like if like we would have to go to like maybe the town to see a doctor every 6 months, or like there would be times that we would have to deal with normal people, and they would warn the shit out of us. They'd be like, don't do this, or like Dennis, the really nice guy that I love that had the music camp on the mountain, like he would invite like a harp player to come and play for us at night, and like he would have to say to the kids like, please don't pass this harp player notes. Like she's doing me a favor, like coming and playing for you guys. Like I really don't want to be embarrassed of like where I work. Like please don't pass notes that like you want like to the fucking harp player that's like coming like hanging out for an hour. Like, you know, I mean, like they like, and we weren't really allowed to call it a cult. Like we knew it was a cult and we would say the word cult, but like I don't know if we didn't like not really believe it. Like there was also things like that would like they would talk about like eat like, you know, we would always talk about like drinking the Kool-Aid, you know, and that was always the reference to fucking Jonestown, you know what I mean? Like what like or you know, or like once if you really were into the program and like you would like, you know, if you would might reference like you might say they had drunk the Kool-Aid, I think. And like yeah, there was I don't know, there was just it was I don't know. It's weird that it was such a the school went on for so long, and there were so many different eras. Like you'll hear stories about, like I've heard stories about the 70s and 80s. Man, they were fucking totally different. And then later it got really different too. Like, but it's all like about like uh, what you like what people will do if you put them in a crazy situation like that. And like one kid, he he convinced his parents to take him home, and then he got sent back, but he knew he was getting sent back. So, and he knew how well of a search they do beforehand, so he took the Levi's leather part off of his jeans. He unsewed that and put $100 bills in it and resewed it together, so that when he split the next time he had money. Or like he fit like, or like you'll just hear like funny things that like people would do like in really extreme situations with like, say like we got strip searched, like right when we got there we got completely strip searched. Yeah, we like had no privacy. Like I definitely saw a bunch of girls completely naked, a bunch, like and adults, yeah, totally, yeah. I mean, no, I mean we got the adult. I don't know, I think an adult was there when I was strip searched. But like I'd hear that that's like a big thing of that people talk about. But um the thing about depression, like we didn't believe in like mental illness, and there was definitely a couple kids there that really were had bad mental illness. There was a couple of there was one specific kid that was I think retarded. Definitely had something like he was autistic, or he didn't have Down syndrome. But there was definitely something developmentally mentally wrong with him, and like we had to like, and he would do weird things and like say weird things, and we had to pretend that they just didn't exist, and like had to have love for him. And it was the weirdest thing, because if we were judging him, we were out of agreement. And like, I don't, it was weird. God, I'm trying to think. Yeah, shut the fuck up. But there was a couple good things too. Like I got my guitar privilege early because my mom died, and then I was able to teach. Like I've taught like 10 people how to play guitar. Like I've taught like I don't know if they, I mean they still play guitar to this day, but like like they're I learned how to crochet a bunch. But like I made a lot of friends. But like they really focused on dreams were a big thing. And like it's probably why I got mad at the dreams thing. But like I've spent my whole life just following my dream, and I mean I have not achieved it. And so it's kind of I wish that wasn't such a big part of it, because like I had a lot of options as a rich white girl from fucking Connecticut of like going to whatever college I wanted and pursuing anything I wanted to, and all I wanted to do was follow my dream of being a fucking singer. And like and then also because I had such a big head about being like like being good, because I had a lot of famous people when I was really young tell me that I was really good. I said no to a lot of shit that people would fucking die for, because I was like, oh, I don't want to play Lilith Fair. I'm like, that's really lame, and they're just girls that aren't cool enough to play Warped Tour or like Lollapalooza. I'm not playing Lilith Fair. And I said that twice, just because I thought that I was too cool for it. Like, that's the stupidest thing to ever say. And like I had that attitude because of CEDU, because like they put so much, like the years that I should have like done stuff like had a high school band. I didn't have because those years were at CEDU. And like I missed like so much music from 1994 to 1996. There was so much good music that I totally missed out on. Like there's a do you know who Quicksand is? Have you heard of the band Quicksand? Have you heard of the band? So like Quicksand came out and left, and then I had never heard of them. I saw Rival Schools and hung out with Walter. I had never heard Quicksand. Like that's the most uncool thing ever because I was at CEDU. Like just weird. Like Biggie Smalls became a huge rap star and then died. And then I got out of CEDU and everyone's like, "Oh, Biggie Smalls, he died." I'm like, "Who the fuck was Biggie Smalls?" So like just like not knowing what happened for like 2 years and 2 months and 14 days of time because we weren't. Oh my God, while I was there, Jerry Garcia died, and 2 hippie kids were in the kitchen, and the cooks were allowed to have a radio on, but it was only an oldies station, and the fucking announcer said, "Oh, legendary musician Jerry Garcia died," and these hippies just went ape shit. They were just hysterically crying, running around, and one of the staff members had to have like an all around the house and was like, "Okay, so this person and this person are completely freaking out because the musician died. Based on who you think, like if you think really hard, who do you think their favorite musician is? Okay, that's who died." Like they didn't even say Jerry Garcia died. It was that obvious. You know what I mean? It's like, who's the most beloved hippie musician? Okay, you know who you're thinking of? Okay, that's the person who died. Like that's all they had to say. And like it was so weird because like they weren't even in trouble. Like, they totally should have been in trouble. But yeah, just like weird things like that. Yeah, it's weird.
That's crazy that you were in there when Garcia died. That's crazy.
Oh, and then no, Kurt Cobain had died. Like that,
I live in Seattle, so yeah.
Oh fuck. Well, Kurt Cobain died, and and I got sent to theater 2 weeks later. So that's how act a fool I was after Kurt Cobain died. Like, yeah, when Kurt Cobain died, I acted like that. I was like, I figured I got expelled, I think, right after. I'm putting that together. That definitely happened after that. Yeah. When Kurt died, I was like, all right, that's it. And I acted a fool and got sent away pretty much. But yeah, I don't know how they handled it there. Because I think they knew. I think that some of the kids knew. But yeah, like we didn't know like anything, any world events, like we were allowed the Sunday, the LA Times, because it was in San Bernardino. I think the LA Times came on Sunday because me and Jackson would always make sure to get the comics to be able to just read the comics once, because one copy would come and it would kind of make its way through everybody. Because on Sunday was the one day we didn't have to do shit all day. Like Sunday was our day of like one day we are off, and that was like we were kind of allowed to do whatever we wanted. We were never allowed to be alone. So
Be right back. Just keep.
Oh yeah.
I'll be right back.
So Sunday was the one day, and then Sunday was also the day that we got to watch a movie. And if you were on a full-time during that and you missed that movie, it really sucked, because when I was on a full-time was when Forrest Gump was watched. And all everybody did was talk about Forrest Gump for months afterwards, and I had not seen it, and it was very sad. How long have we been on this?
I'm so sorry. I had to go to the bathroom.
No, you're fucking Joe Rogan at this point. It's 3 hours. You're doing a 3-hour podcast.
I had to go pee. Okay.
No, it's awesome. It's really awesome to be able to talk about it for longer than 45 minutes at a time. Um, yeah, so how long have you been doing the podcast? How long have you been?
Like a year now, I think.
Oh my God.
Or a year on this podcast, a year. But I've been into podcasting for a while. I love Joe Rogan and all that.
I was a huge Joe Rogan fan before the podcast. Like, I saw his first comedy thing and thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen. And like every time he's done a comedy special, it's been like my favorite comedy special. And then he did I'm like, oh, now he's like my favorite. I don't and like with the whole when people were mad at him, like if you actually watch the podcast, he didn't say anything that people would think that he said. Like if you actually listen to what the fuck he says, it's not what people think. He's not a douchebag. People think he's a douchebag. He's really not.
People just hate him because he's so successful.
Well, no, it's like he's allowed to say whatever the fuck he wants to. Like he gets paid to say whatever the fuck he wants to. And I don't know, Adam Egget is his boy. Adam Eget's his boy, and that's my friend from CEDU. Adam Egget, hello if you're out there. Somebody say hello to Adam. But he's really successful now. He runs the comedy store in LA. Like Pauly Shore, Pauly Shore's mom, Mitzi Shore, had a huge comedy venue in LA, and it was doing really bad. Adam was working there. I think he just went, like, started really low at the comedy store, and now he fucking runs the place and gets to tell, like, fucking, like, huge, like, the biggest, like, Jim Carrey, what time to play. Like, he gets to tell, like, all the biggest, like, most funny people, they come in, and he gets to tell them if they can, oh, no, we don't want you tonight, Jerry Seinfeld. Like, he gets to tell people that. It's, like, insane. Like, I don't understand how he got that job. But, yeah, he talked to Joe for, like, I think it was during COVID. Yeah, it was during COVID when he did his podcast.
Yeah.
It was, like, so awesome. But when he mentions that, when he's like, Joe asked him, like, when he figured out it was a cult, and he's like, well, there was these Facebook groups, like these Facebook, I was like, that's me. He's just talking at me because that was my Facebook group that he's talking about. I started that group. He's definitely talking about me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, but he's super famous now. I'm like so proud of him. So I'm like, I don't know how he did that. Like he's actually Jackson's best friend. He graduated with Jackson. And so like therefore by default I hung out with him tons. But like he still is one of Jackson's very, very, very close friends. Yeah, like when I'm just so glad that he's like talking about it. And he's talked about it a couple of times. I've listened to a couple of podcasts as he's talked about CEDU. And I think I've heard that he's in works of making something with maybe HBO or like some major studios interested in like making either a mini series or like, I don't think it's anything short as a movie. I think it's like a TV series about CEDU. I hope, like, I mean, but I don't even know how you would do it. I feel like you would have to do it in like every episode would be like a character, like one person. You're like, every episode would have to be like, this is this one person's story, and then in each one show like how fucked up the school is in small pieces. Like I don't know how you could do that.
I don't even know that you could recreate that.
Oh my God, actually, I didn't even realize there actually is a television show about CEDU. I'll have to find that link. There's an actual television show about it too that they made. It was on like it was on the CW. And I have it saved on my YouTube and watched later. But there's an actual fucking movie about it. I mean, TV show about it. It's really bad too, but it's pretty close, I think, too. And then there's a couple other movies that came out that are about it. There's that movie with and one of them has Mila, the girl from fucking Meg from Family Guy. The girl from that 70s show. Mila, whatever. She's yes, she's in a movie about CEDU. Yeah, I forget it. I'll send you all these links before we talk next time. But yeah, I can't believe that like there's that many people at yours. How many do we think how many schools do you think are still running today?
Oh man, there's probably hundreds of them.
So I know that there's a ton in like other countries where it's not like where it's like less regulated, I guess, or like.
Oh yeah, for sure. for sure. There's probably a fuckload in other countries.
I wonder what the other ones are that like made it like made the offshoots different though. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder where the other flavors of the fucking other schools that I don't recognize. I wonder where that came from. So interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Uh,
Okay. Well, we are pretty much at 3 hours.
yeah.
We're
I'm
pretty much
sorry for
at.
talking you off.
No,
I don't like. I told you like that. Yeah, like I when I started seeing this fucking therapist, no, I started seeing this woman just to get ketamine treatment, so I'll just shut up about CEDU. Like, yeah, it's for depression, but it's mostly like, oh, I really want to get this out of my brain somehow. Like, I want to like not have to think about it all the time. Um, and that like and people are like, oh, you're gonna have to get therapy for it. I'm like, okay, well, if I get therapy, you know what that means? I just have to talk about it more, right? Because that's how therapy works. Like, that means I'm gonna talk about it to you too. Like, like if we want it to go away, that means I have to talk about it even more. But
have you thought about microdosing?
that's what I'm trying the ketamine therapy.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought about that. I don't know. I don't like I don't know any like. I mean, I don't think that there's like. I don't know. Because it's also that like what are you without that kind of thing, like, you know, or the like the survivor's guilt, and not I don't think it's survivor's guilt necessarily, but like I don't know, it's like it's like such a big part of my life. I don't know what I would do if that part of my brain wasn't occupied with CEDU. um but yeah,
It's
I got
understandable.
for school. Oh god, thank you for talking. Sorry that everyone that watches know how nuts I am. um
It's fine. You just haven't talked to anybody about this in a really long time, and
no, I talk about it all the time.
well, I mean, like,
Not in
yeah,
this level of depth, though. No,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
no. But yeah, it's like, yeah. I mean, everyone that knows me just knows that they can't play Imagine around. Like, I'm a musician, you can't play Imagine around me. When I worked at like every store I've worked at, like when I worked at Guitar Center, I was just always so happy, like that it never came on. It was never on the playlist of music because, like, if it was, like, I would have to quit or like call corporate and be like, okay, at my store, you just can't play that song, like. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just it's the music is the hard thing after, but um
But yeah, for part two, you should take some notes and find out, and just try and figure out what you want to talk about.
yeah, because I'm just babbling about random bullshit
No, no,
now.
no. You actually did pretty good today, actually.
What is that, like, what do people mostly talk about?
Mainly, it's just like, what did you do to get sent there? How was your experience there? What was your first few weeks there? Like, did you graduate?
I
Uh,
graduated, yeah.
and then essentially, like, how was life afterwards?
Horrible.
Yeah.
For everyone like, because also it's like, you know, it's mostly rich kids that got sent to a school that makes them emotionally smarter than their parents. So like it's just real fucked up. Like, yeah, like it's really, it's, you know, it's weird to be able to like talk your way out of situations that most people wouldn't be able to because you're just emotionally smarter than people. And like if you know how, like if you know how to trigger somebody, like, I don't know, it's just like you just become the, like, you, I don't know, they just gave us the tools, they called us the tools of like what all human emotions, like what the fucking thing you're supposed to learn from having that emotion is. And so and then they should give you out of the world, and there's no like aftercare program, there's no like, you know, you should talk to this person or like make sure that you do this and this after. It's like, okay, you're done. And like, yeah, there's a lot of deaths, there's a lot, yeah, friends with a lot of moms on Facebook, you know what I mean, that like just, you know, sometimes want to hear a story about their kid, like, um but yeah, I didn't know that was so common. But yeah, it's like it's hard. It's really, I'm having a huge hard time with my dad, and he's like my boyfriend had to put it to him. He's like, okay, you might not believe that like something like that, you know, this is happening, but like I've heard her talk about CEDU for 8 years, and so obviously something happened. So like, but it's yeah, I'm super happy that you're doing this. I'm super happy you got to a CEDU person. Yeah, I'm sure we'll try to send as many people I can to you, because yeah, like I don't know, it was so fucking unique. Like it was so different. It was like it was a whole fucking different world. It was a different society. We had our own language. We had, like it was just so, there's so fucking involved, like so many, like there's so much to it. Like this guy wrote this book, and he was only there for like, he wasn't even there for a year, I think. And I think that's the only person that could write a book about it, because he wrote about things that I don't remember. Like he wrote about a fucking painting that was in part of the building. There was a girl with a pearl earring. It's like, oh right, that wasn't there. He just wrote about certain things, because if you're only there for a short amount of time, you're not going to be totally, you know what I mean? You're not going to remember everything and be totally fucking indoctrinated. But like because he got out, he was able to look at it kind of differently. I haven't even really been able to read the whole thing. I just, I will someday. But I think my boyfriend did. But um our school was it's just so involved. There's just so much to it. There's so many levels of fucked up that they put us through. Yeah, I'll look more into what yours was like. And
Yeah.
if anyone that I was friends with there, I love you and thank you for watching, and text me. My number's always been the same if you've ever had it.
Okay, cool. So thank you guys so much for coming to the show, and we will be doing a part 2 on this, so stay tuned for that. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you've watched so far in the video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hope you have a wonderful evening. Bye, y'all.